Games, Paris 2024.
With Kelly Kears.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Welcome to the La Défense Arena in the heart of Paris, where we are at the pool. And at 8:44, Adam Peaty races to defend his 100 metres breaststroke title. He takes on his big rival, Xin from China.
Seeing Xin win my event, the 100-metre breaststroke at World Championships, and everyone saying he's going to win at the Olympics, I think that's the moment where I was like, no, there's going to be a good fight here. I'm not going to let someone just walk into that event.
And so far for Great Britain today, a bronze medal in the canoe slalom.
I think Kimberly Woods is going to need it to get a penalty, and she has! She's whacked the gate! It's going to be a bronze medal for Kimberly Woods!
Just out on court, possibly for the final time, Sir Andy Murray, watched by Russell Fuller.
Yes, Andy Murray's fifth and final Olympics is underway. 2 golds and 1 silver is the tally so far. Playing alongside Dan Evans in the doubles, and 2 games all first set with the Japanese pair of Nishikori and Daniel.
We have tennis, swimming, rugby sevens and hockey for you tonight. Every Team GB medal will be live here on 5 Live. You can also follow the action on the BBC Sport website and app, or watch on BBC One and iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Kelly Kears.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Well, there is an incredible night of swimming still to come, but in the early evening sun, Andy Murray and Dan Evans are on court. As we've heard, Russell Fuller is watching on the action at Roland Garros, and it was almost not going to happen. This was Andy Murray's swan song, but Dan Evans was a doubt for this one, Russ.
Yes, not just Andy Murray who can point to an ageing body, because Dan Evans has had problems too. In the singles earlier today, he had a fall, which he says winded him and grazed his knee. He jumped in the ice bath after eventually coming through in 3 sets against Moe Echagoui of Tunisia to get his first ever Olympic win on his Olympic doubles, and Olympic debut, I should say, and as he said, was never going to be the person who pulled out on Andy Murray to deny him a chance of playing in one final Olympic game. So we have Evans and Andy Murray, who had that operation to remove a spinal cyst just 9 days before the Wimbledon Championships began, who are playing Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel. Nishikori, also a player who's had a hip operation in the last couple of years, down at 435 in the world because of injury problems, and playing with Taro Daniel. And it's 2 games all in the first set, in the sunshine at last on the Suzanne Lenglen courts.
Thank you very much for that. Russell Fuller is going to keep us right up to date with everything that's happening in what could be Andy Murray's final competitive game. We have to treat every match that he plays now in what we know will be his final competition as if it could be his final game. But hopefully he progresses throughout this tournament and we see more of Andy Murray and Dan Evans in action. Russell Fuller will let us know exactly what's happening there. Meanwhile, big night of swimming, as we said, at the La Défense Arena. Steve Parry is here alongside me. We're also joined by Julien Laurent, and of course he's here for the big moment when Léon Marchand is here. We already got a taster of it this morning when we saw him in action, and we heard how vociferous the crowd were. It's going to be ratcheted up a notch this evening, and Jules, we'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But Steve, for the British fans, for anybody who's watching Team GB, this is a huge medal opportunity for Adam Peaty.
Yeah, not only is it huge for Adam Peaty, but it's also massive in the sport. There's only ever been one person that has managed to win a gold medal in an event 3 times, and that's the greatest of all time, Michael Phelps. And, you know, to think that a Brit for our sport could join the likes of Michael Phelps in that, it's absolutely massive. And, you know, we've been through some tough times as British swimmers over the last 30 years, and then we're very lucky to get Adam Peaty, who then seemed to galvanise success across the team, turning them into the most successful team at the, you know, in the British Olympic team. So, you know, there's so much in here, but it's finally poised. When I went to the last Olympics, I got the popcorn out and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see Adam Peaty win a gold medal. I'm genuinely nervous. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm like, is he going to win? Like, because he could genuinely come 5th, or he could win it. It's that close.
And that's because we're not really sure about times in this pool. Over the last day and a half, some people have like racked up fantastic times, and then this particular event seems like they're going quite slowly. And of course, throughout the course of his training for the Olympics, he's been up against the clock, and now he's up against individuals. He's got to switch to race mode.
Kelly, you've absolutely nailed it. He was so dominant. Him and his coach had to come up with projects where they were racing the clock. At the last Olympics, they were saying Project 56. Let's see if we can go to 56 seconds. We know we're going to win. Let's just push the boundary. At one time, Adam Peaty owned the top 30 times ever in an event. I mean, that it must make him one of the most dominant athletes of any sport ever. But now, as you say, he's racing people. And I think this is the first time in a decade that he is actually concerned about the people who he's racing against. But
and you're worried about that as well. You
really
think that if there is a sort of chink in his armour, it is when he comes up against close competition.
So, you know, if they were like top trumps, if you had top trump cards, Adam would score really well on speed, not so well on endurance. And the Chinese swimmer Hai Yang, he's the 200-metre breaststroke world record holder. So we know he's going to come fast wrong. But then we've got Kaminga in there as well, a Dutch swimmer who's been sub 58 seconds, a second faster than these guys are swimming. He's in there. You've got Nick Fink, the world champion this year from America. Americans always step up when it comes to finals. And I'm just concerned that the only bad swims I've ever seen Adam Peaty do is when he's had somebody on his shoulders and his program his stroke starts to break down. And the last 15 metres is just going to be agonising. It's going to feel like it's going to take us about 4 minutes to do 5 seconds.
A genuine gold medal opportunity and genuine jeopardy sets us up perfectly for a brilliant race. That's around about 8:45 UK time, and we'll bring it to you live here on 5 Live. We're also across everything that's happening in the Olympics, including at Roland Garros. Let's check in on the tennis with Russell Fuller.
Andy Murray and Dan Evans have been broken in the first set by the Japanese pair of Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel, and it was Andy Murray's serve that was broken. Kelly, he shanked a forehand having served on that first break point against the team. So it's Nishikori and Daniel who lead this first set by 3-2 in the first round of the doubles.
Russ, thank you very much. Russell Fuller will keep us up to date with everything that's happening there. As we said, though, Julien Laurent alongside us here at the La Défense Arena for the appearance of Léon Marchand. We saw it this morning, really, when the crowd was sort of greeting every stroke with an ole, or what we're calling an oleon, which I think might be the new phrase for the pool. Quite pleased with myself. Could you tell with a little pause? I know. But Jules, it's going to be we'll talk about it, you know, from a swimming perspective, from a competitive aspect, but just for the games, for the sense of occasion.
Yeah, and you know, from our point of view, from the French point of view, we had Dupont yesterday, and Léon is one of the other faces of these games. There's no doubt. He's only 22 and about to become something so different, go to another planet if he wins tonight. But then there's maybe more medals to come, maybe more gold. There's 4 individual events, 1 team event. Of course, I mean, if he gets 2 gold, 3 gold, I don't know. I think the sky is the limit really for him. He's that good. So it's going to be incredible. And everybody tonight that is French in this arena is just coming for him, and to, like you said, to just push him. If he needs to be pushed, I'm not sure. He looks so dominant this morning. Maybe too much, and that's maybe where, a bit like you, Steve, with Peaty, I kind of woke up this morning and my children were saying, Léon is going to win for sure, he's going to beat his world record, and I'm like, whoa, let's see, because it's never good to be too confident, I guess.
He's definitely going to win. There is no
him.
Yeah, I mean, unless he falls off the block, which I guess could happen in the beginning, he's going to win. But what worries me about Marchand, if he goes well tonight and wins, and I mean worry for the rest of the world, I think he'll win the 200 medley, I think he'll win the 200 fly, and he's got a chance of winning the 200 breaststroke. He is the most versatile and most talented swimmer we've ever seen. He's better than Michael Phelps. He's beaten his world record by a second.
Yeah.
And looking to become only the 4th swimmer in history, I think, to win 4 gold medals at 1 Olympics, which would just be
Kelly,
incredible.
you first came to the baths yesterday. Now you're a aficionado of this stuff. It's brilliant. Have you been studying overnight?
Somebody's read a stat pack, haven't they?
That's right.
It's not the first time I've ever watched swimming, though, just because it's day 2 of this Olympics.
But Jules are like this. He's doing it the hard way. The most people that get 4 medals at the Games are Americans because they got such great chances at relays. They're helped along by their friends. Leon is doing it the hard way, and he's not doing it on Mickey Mouse events, 50s and 100s. Yeah. He's doing it on really tough events.
Steve Parry, Julien Laurent, for now, thank you very much. The men's rugby sevens was a huge success. A home win obviously helped, in a fantastic competition for Antoine Dupont as well. And the women's competition started earlier on. Second round of group games this evening in Group B, which is Great Britain's group. Ireland are playing South Africa, watched by Kat Merchant and Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, very good evening to you, Kelly. They're underway then in the second half then of this match. Ireland leads 7-0 at the break. Of course, this is significant because it's all the same pool as GB, and GB actually beat Ireland a little bit earlier today. So this is an important match for the Irish and the South Africans because they really need a win if they're going to get through to those all-important quarterfinals. And a big moment in the match, Kat, although Ireland lead this, they lost their captain, Lucy Mulhall. She came off the pitch in tears. She clearly had a knee problem. I mean, looks like her Olympics over already.
Yeah, she looked at a lot of pain, and she didn't. Her teammates wanted to support her and carry her off, and she was like, no, leave it. But Ireland just made an incredible break there. Crow, that woman has been insane today. She's made some brilliant line breaks, really punishing them out wide, but takes them even further ahead now.
Yeah, Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe, she is scoring all kinds of tries at this Olympic Games, and that score takes Ireland to 12-0 against South Africa. Still 5 minutes on the clock, Kelly.
And thank you to Kat as well. Great Britain against Australia is at 6:30. They both won their first group matches earlier on today. We'll be back again at the tennis shortly as well. But in the last hour, Great Britain's Kimberly Woods clinched Olympic bronze in a dramatic women's kayak single final. She was third in the standings with only Germany's reigning champion Ricarda Funk left to go. But the Tokyo gold medalist made a major mistake late in her run, and that helped Woods to seal her first Olympic medal. Here she is speaking to a fellow Olympic medalist, Matthew Pinsent.
Kim Woods, Olympic medalist. That has taken quite a journey for you to get here. You are clasping that medal, and rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, it means the world. You know, it wasn't easy sitting in third with the current Olympic champion coming down, but you know, I put my all into that, and it's just thanks to everyone at home. Like, Team GB have done an amazing job to bring us here, and UK Sport and National Lottery, everyone, family, friends, like the stadium were incredible, and that's what's gone into this, and I'm so happy.
Was your last run about as good as it could be?
No, which is really frustrating. There was a tiny bit in my run towards the bottom where I fell off the wave. I gave it absolutely everything, and the crowd really helped, but I finished as high as I could. My time was better than my semi-final, and yeah, I'm really proud of myself, of who I am today.
How much was that previous Olympic experience a driving motivation for you? How often have you thought about this moment, this competition, that final?
Probably since that day, you know, like it was absolutely heartbreaking to kind of go out there and really not showcase what I'm about, and every race since then it's been about finishing as high as I can, and I've grown so much this year, let alone in the last 3 years, and I'm really proud that I went out there today and showed some skills and showed what I was really capable of, and thankfully it was enough for a medal.
Your sport has taken a huge amount out of you. You really are an inspiration to people. You've been very public about that, and it's so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, all the mental health stuff, I try my absolute best to use my platform for good, and then the Olympics is such a big stage to do that, and yeah, just go out there and get some help if you need it. It's okay to not be okay, you know, and so you might win a medal at the end of it, and I certainly did, but you know, it's about resting now for the kayak cross later in the week.
Talk about that. What sort of appetite and springboard does this give you for the next few days?
I'm already on cloud 9. I mean, anything from now is just a bonus, and yeah, to come here and win this, and yeah, I'm going to rest now, cheer on my teammates. I'm sure this is going to inspire them to go out there and win medals, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to sitting on that ramp.
It is so good to see you with such a big smile on your face. I've followed you for a number of years. We have had a number of these interviews, and it is so lovely to see you smiling.
Yeah, we've had a few with me in tears, so yeah, it's been nice to come round a bit full circle and have a medal around my neck.
No more ugly crying?
No, definitely not. I mean, maybe a little bit on the podium with the medal, but it's all happy tears now.
That was Olympic bronze medalist Kimberly Woods talking to Matthew Pinsent. Let's head back to Roland Garros and check in on the tennis, where they're coming to the end of the first set. Russell Fuller.
Yes, rather too quickly from a British perspective, Kelly, because Andy Murray playing here with Dan Evans, and remember this is the final tournament of Andy Murray's professional career, trail 5-2 in the opening set to the Japanese pair of Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel. And now Andy Murray and Dan Evans have both had their serve broken, so they are hoping to prolong the set here if they can, with the serving now being done by Kei Nishikori, and they're closing in on the first set, and they have been the better pair. I have to say Andy Murray is moving a lot better than he was at Wimbledon in that doubles match with Jamie Murray. That was just less than 2 weeks after an operation to remove a spinal cyst. But the Japanese pair are the better pair so far, and let's get an expert's view because Mark Woodford is watching on, gold medalist for Australia in Atlanta in 1996 and a silver medalist in Sydney in 2000. Welcome, Woody. What do you make of it so far?
Russell, good to hear your voice, but I agree with you entirely. I'm surprised about how well the Japanese pair are playing. On form, you would say that the British pair, Dan and Andy, should be able to cruise through this match, but I'm so surprised about the level of the two Japanese.
And this is Kei Nishikori now. He's trying to close out the set, and that is wide with the backhand from Andy Murray. A shake of the head from Murray, a slap of the hands from Dan Evans, but that means the first of 3 set points has been taken by the Japanese pair, and they have won that first set by 6 games to 2. Yes, we're both surprised because they've never played together as a pair. Taro Daniel has played virtually no doubles in his career. Kei Nishikori is virtually a part-time player these days because of so many injury problems. How about Andy Murray and Dan Evans then? Are we seeing any effects still of that spinal cyst surgery for Andy Murray, do you think? Or the 2.5-hour match he won in the singles earlier today for Dan Evans?
Well, look, I again will agree that Andy is moving a little better. That he was so hesitant at Wimbledon, actually called that match, I think it might have been alongside of you, Russell, and it was just difficult to see him serve and volley. But here he seems to be moving quite freely. Dan Evans obviously playing earlier today and getting through in 3 sets, but probably a little worse for wear. I think he took a tumble in his singles match and might be feeling a little bit from that match, but it's just surprising to see the Japanese on returns. They have been devastatingly strong. It's not because of Andy and Dan's inability to play a good level of tennis. It's the high level of the red-shirted Japanese.
Yep, they have been absolutely superb, Kelly. Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel have won the first set by 6 games to 2.
Russell, thank you very much. Russell staying with us alongside Russell and Mark Woodford. Jonathan Overend is with us. Jonathan, thoughts on Andy Murray? Because we have to sort of treat every match now as though it could potentially be his last, and particularly now with it not having gone their way in the first set.
Yes, and so do the tournaments. You know, this tournament, I know a lot of people behind the scenes are kind of thinking about, right, where should we schedule Andy Murray, because he is potentially such a big occasion. But I guess, like you say, Kelly, every match could be his last. I'm with Russell and Mark. I would have expected them to have come through this opening round match pretty handily, but Daniel and Nishikori playing a fine match on court Susan Long, where the sun is shining and there remains a terrific atmosphere. I was on this court for the match before this involving Gael Monfils, and there really is a party atmosphere around this part of Paris, but I don't think there will be in half an hour or so if Andy Murray loses this match and ends his career.
No, and we will let you know exactly what's happening in that one. But Russell, earlier, Rafael Nadal, he did win his match, but he was made to work for it. And does that mean we get the blockbuster second round match between Nadal and Djokovic that we wanted?
We do. We get meeting number 60, which is a record between any two men, tantalisingly poised as well as they enter the autumn of their career, with Djokovic leading 30-29, Kelly. Last meeting was at the French Open, also at Roland Garros, in 2022 when Nadal won in the quarter-finals. Now, very contrasting passage to the second round. Novak Djokovic played one of the alternates that came into the draw when someone else pulled out. That was Matt Ebden. He'd not played singles, I think, for over a year, and he won that in double quick time. Nadal had quite a struggle against Marton Fucsovics over 3 sets earlier today. He's also played doubles, winning that with Carlos Alcaraz yesterday. Slight concerns about a thigh problem, and he was also getting soaked on the River Seine on Friday night as he played his part in the opening ceremony. So he's had by far the busier weekend, but this is Roland Garros, isn't it? And Nadal has won the French Open title 14 times, so we can't wait to see when that will take place. It's going to be either tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah, and because of that, Mark, you know, he's almost the most Parisian of the non-Parisians taking part in this Olympic Games. But this title means everything to Djokovic because he could win the Golden Slam.
He certainly could, and with the result runner-up at Wimbledon. That was a little bit of a surprise. He just seemed a little flat in that particular match against Alcaraz. So yes, this is probably the one jewel that is missing out of the Djokovic crown, and boy, it's just an enticing encounter. I believe the match will take place tomorrow. All second round matches will be on the schedule, so expecting a lot of a fantastic atmosphere, great theatre here on Philippe Chatrier.
And Russell, for people who might just be catching up with what's been happening in the Olympics so far today, how did the Brits go in the Olympics tennis?
So Dan Evans has already had that win over Moe Eshagui of Tunisia, the world number 384, a chance for one of the developing nations to get a place in the draw, receiving one of the ITF wildcard places. But it was a real struggle for Evans, who'd been in terrible form on the tour. He'd lost 8 matches in a row coming into this Olympic Games, so despite that fall, very relieved to get an Olympic win on his debut. 6-2 in the decider, Evans. He'll play the 6th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas in the second round. And Jack Draper also a winner against Kei Nishikori, who's playing his second match of the day, let's not forget. 6-1, 6-4 for Draper, who'll now play Taylor Fritz, the 7th seed. The disappointing news was for Katie Bolter, who does struggle on clay compared to other surfaces. She lost to Anna Karolina Schmiedlova 6-4, 6-2 in the first round. And also for Cameron Norrie, who, like Andy Murray, decided he wasn't going to be able to play in the singles. He withdrew this morning because of a left arm injury. So as far as the singles are concerned, even if the doubles does probably provide Britain's best hope of a medal, it's just Jack Draper and Dan Evans left.
And Overs, you're watching another superstar this evening.
Yes, Coco Gauff on court. Philippe Chatrier has taken a brisk lead in the opening set of her first match against Alia Tomljanovic. Gauff, of course, the US Open champion, who's made the final here before at the French Open and was the flag bearer, the joint flag bearer for the United States in their lovely jackets and jean combo on Friday night. She leads 3-1, does Coco Gauff, in the opening set here on Philippe Chatrier.
Thank you very much for now to Jonathan Overend, to Russell Fuller and to Mark Woodford. We'll be hearing from them throughout the evening as we keep you up to date with everything that's happening at Roland Garros. Full time in the Rugby Sevens match between Ireland and South Africa. Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, the first day of the Women's Rugby Sevens at the Stade de France, and finally Ireland turn up in their second match of the competition after they lost earlier today to Great Britain. They've absolutely thumped the South Africans 38-0. In particular, Kat Merchant watching on their second half performance. I mean, they're on Olympic debut, the Irish, but that's what we've seen from them this season on the Sevens Tour.
Yeah, they really have. I said it earlier, they're peaking at the right time. And yes, GB beat them in their opening game, but they're a smart team, they're a dangerous team. They are getting it wide, but they're very physical as well, and they're holding nothing back. They're really going out to play.
It really was an impressive performance in the second half from the Irish, who still have a big match to come tomorrow. That'll be when they're taking on the Australians, but that's who is up next. Australia against Great Britain in Pool B. They'll be out on the pitch shortly. Kelly.
And Sarah, ahead of that game, obviously Great Britain have lost the bronze medal match of the last 2 Olympics. Because of the dominance of Australia and New Zealand, have they got a chance of going a little bit better this time around?
Yeah, it's such a tricky one to call this one, Kelly, because Great Britain come into this with this real, it's not a mishmash of a team, but they're a team that just haven't been together that long. They've got players coming in, the likes of Meg Jones and Ellie Kildunn. So, look, getting to the quarterfinals, having beaten Ireland earlier today, they're in a strong position. We don't expect them to win this match against Australia. If they did, that would be incredible, don't get me wrong. But Kat, you'll know this. I mean, the Australians, they've just dominated sevens. It's bigger, the sevens, for the Australia women than the 15s is back at home.
Oh, huge. Yeah, and they're so dangerous. They're the only team that regularly turn over New Zealand. And they really do. They are incredible, like athletes, the skill level that they have, and yeah, this is a tough game for Great Britain now, definitely. And I think that there's not many people will be thinking that they're gonna pull this off. But yeah, surprises happen, and the fantastic thing about sevens is that one missed tackle can mean a try. So teams can be closer than in 15s. Normally, the dominant side is just going to win because they'll batter it down, they'll keep going. But in sevens, genuinely anything can happen.
Well, we're expecting them to make at least the quarterfinals now, Kelly. But yeah, this is going to be a big task in this pool match coming up shortly.
And Kat, Sarah mentioned Ellie Kildun, Meg Jones in the team, both winning the Grand Slam in the Six Nations. Well, Kildun was actually the leading try scorer. How does that switch work from 15s to 7s? How is it received?
It is a hard one to get your head around because it's like there's so little of you on the pitch, and you look around and you're used to having all your teammates around you, and obviously there's so few. But the good thing is, and for players like Kildun, who is really fast, has got really good footwork, she has so much more space to showcase that. So I'd love to see her with the ball in space, let her have a go, like attack and get her head around it. But it is a different game because you have to be switched on all the time. And 15s, you can sort of, there's highs and lows in it and your concentration goes up and down. But 7s isn't like that. It is, you have to focus on every single minute or you're going to get punished.
Kat and Sarah, for now, thank you very much. We'll be back with you for a commentary of Great Britain against Australia very shortly. Let's check in on Roland Garros, though, and Russell Fuller.
And once again, the team of Andy Murray and Dan Evans have had their serve broken. It was Andy Murray this time, double faulting when break point down. And that means that having lost the first set by 6-2 to the scratch Japanese pairing of Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel, Murray and Evans find themselves now 2-love down in the second set because that was a love hold for Taro Daniel and Mark Woodford, the 17-time Grand Slam champion, Olympic gold medalist in Atlanta in 1996. There's no sign that the fortunes of the British team are going to change, and this is best of 3 sets, Mark. It could be over very, very quickly for Andy Murray.
Yeah, the 3-set format, it just is that sprint, isn't it? As soon as the umpire says play from that very first point, it's a mad dash, and it's been exceptional tennis by Nishikori and Taro Daniel, and they've been very savvy. They're going out after the British pair's second serve, Russell, making plenty of returns, putting a lot of pressure on the first volleys of the British pair at the moment. They're playing some fantastic tennis.
There's a miss just from Kei Nishikori, who's hit a forehand long, so it's now 30-love on the Dan Evans serve, but they are trailing 6-2 and 2-love. How much say do you have, and Mark is on the board of the International Tennis Federation, which is the governing body which is primarily responsible for the Olympic event, how much say do you have about scheduling? Are you able to put some pressure on the French organisers and say, we really, really need Andy Murray on one of the 2 main show courts here, because if he does go out, we've got to be able to do justice to his amazing career?
Well, there was a lot of conversation about where to put this particular match. I certainly can say that. There were different scenarios in place. Given that this could be Andy's final match, I think what supported the decision to place the match 5th on Suzhou Longlong today was that on paper there was that belief that the British pair should survive against Taro Daniel and Kei Nishikori. So the scenario, he was at some stage considered to be playing this match on Chatrier. There was another scenario that had them playing on the 3rd of the show courts here, Simone Mathieu, and well, today they've landed 5th match on Longland, but things are not going the way that I think the organisers and the schedulers really had anticipated.
No, there's the prospect, were they to come from behind to win this match, of playing a French pair in the second round. Arthur Fils and Hugo Humbert would have to win their first round match tomorrow, and that would perhaps be a more natural centre court or Philippe Chatrier court match. There's a lovely volley from Andy Murray. It's picked up, though, by Taro Daniel, but Dan Evans splits the 2 Japanese with a forehand down the middle, and therefore he has held serve, and that is a mighty relief, Mark, because they'd lost their serve 3 times in a row, but at least they're on the board in the second set, trailing 2-6, 1-2.
Well, I can certainly sympathise with the way that the British pair are just struggling, and this is the doubles. They're just going to have to probably grind this through and survive some tense points. That was just an escape. Dan Evans holding serve there to keep their chances alive, but just try not to expose too many second serves to the Japanese pair and see if they can perhaps get the crowd right behind them for support.
Lots of work to do for Dan Evans and Andy Murray. It's a combined effort to keep Andy Murray's professional career alive, Kelly. They trail 6-2 and 2-1 with a break.
Thank you very much to Russell Fuller and Mark Woodford, who will keep us up to date with everything that's happening at Roland Garros. Let's check in now on the Rugby Sevens big match for Great Britain as they take on Australia with Kat Merchant and Sarah Orchard.
And what a time to join us, Kelly, because in the Stade de France, Team GB have just taken a 5-0 lead against the Australians. They have scored right out in the corner through Heather Cowell. It was initial break by Ellie Killdunn, but it was a yellow card for one of the Australians. We've got a pair of Levis out there. We have to get that gag in nice and early because they're sisters. Tegan Levi, the more ferocious half of the pair of Levis, she's been sent to the bin. As a result, Heather Cowell goes in the corner. Kat Merchant.
Yeah, what a try. That, like we said, we wanted to see Killdunn in space, and she certainly did that. Went right through the middle of them. Realised she wasn't going to quite make it. That, you know, Australia are really fast and they got some good cover tackles, but that yellow is so important, and it's what damage that GB can do in this next 2 minutes.
Yeah, so remember, this is a yellow card in 7, so that's only 2 minutes that the player has to stay in the bin. Australia, what can we say about them? Gold medalists in Rio in 2016, and they're now breaking away down the left-hand side. It's Madison Levi. I mean, she scores tries for fun on the main series tour, and she's doing it again right from the restart. She goes and touches down. She's going to level the scores straight away with her sister in the bin, and there's a conversion to come, Kat.
I mean, when it comes down to it, that was just handed off Cowell, went round the outsider. It's just a one-on-one. She's got 70 metres still to run in, and she goes. And that is the beauty of sevens. But you always have to be switched on, because one missed tackle, now they're back in the game, and really GB would have wanted to extend their lead in this time and definitely not let Australia even really have the ball, let alone score. So, we're in for a good match though.
Yeah, we really are. And I have to say there about Madison Levi, I mean, she just is a prolific scorer. She's consistently at the top of the charts, and you're just seeing her gallop like a horse down the left wing. Her running style is incredible, Kat.
Yeah, well, she doesn't look, I know it's a compliment, but she doesn't look like she's running fast, because she's running so fast it looks easy, whereas I never looked like I was chilling. I look like I was like in pain as I'm running, but very elegant style of running, lovely to watch.
And a brilliant restart there by the Australians as well. They nearly managed to steal the ball, but somehow GB managed to get their mitts back onto it. In the hands now of Jasmine Joyce. She scored the 3rd try for Great Britain in their earlier win today against Ireland, but the ball has been knocked on there by Great Britain. So they're going to have to go for the restart. Jazz Joyce there, she was desperately trying to hold on to it, but she just couldn't quite, just bounced slightly forwards.
Yeah, just a little toe, I think, just hit the line as she was trying to work hard to stay in, because she's very, very rapid, but she's slight. So when she gets hit by bigger players, especially some of these Aussie girls are pretty big and strong, it's going to be tough to stay away from touch.
Okay, the Australian 17, they pushed out towards the far side. Faith Nathan flying away. Australia leads 7-5 at the moment. Just over 2 minutes to play in the first half of this match between Great Britain and Australia. And let's quickly go and check in on the tennis. Russell Fuller.
This one is not yet done, Sarah, because Great Britain have broken back. Kei Nishikori broken to 15, and even though they lost the first set 6-2, Andy Murray and Dan Evans, they're back on serve at 2 games all in the second.
Thank you, Russell. We will keep you across all of the Olympic action here on 5 Live as Australia break away in the women's sevens. Have they touched down in the corner through Faith Nathan, or have they been dragged into touch? They're going to go and check this one. Australia leads 7-5 here at the moment. Still 2 minutes of the first half to play. And Kat Merchant, who is watching on here with us, a former sevens specialist and World Cup winner with England in the 15s. I think she's just been dragged into touch there.
Yeah, well, you can tell normally from a player's reaction, and she scores that or puts the ball down anyway, and she doesn't cheer. And in their situation, she would. So I think, yeah, you can see it from this angle here. We can see now on the replay, foot's in touch, great cover tackle, try-saving tackle there.
It was a big tackle coming in by the GB captain, Emma Uren. I mean, she wasn't even expecting to captain this GB side, because Abby Brown, who's been the regular GB captain and England captain for a long time now, as the ball is stolen by Australia. It's coming away through Charlotte Caslick. She's been smashed in the middle of the field. Somehow the Australians hold on to the ball through intense pressure from Great Britain. The Australians now come out towards the near side, a rare fumble from them, and it's all coming from pressure from Ellie Killdunn. In the middle of the field, GB win the penalty. That is excellent defence.
such great defence, because you thought Australia was certainly going to score a couple of times there, really close in, but GB are just not giving up. They've got so much fight in them, and it's really great to see.
A couple of chances just gone begging there for Australia. They lead here 7-5 at the rugby sevens, but GB, they are scrapping in this. I just said Emma Uren, she is the captain, because Abby Brown, fortunately she was injured, couldn't make this game, as Heather Cow tries to break away down the far side wing. She hacks on the ball, so Australia will regather possession through Kaslik in their own half of the field. They're trying to push it towards the middle as Kildan comes in with a big tackle to try and bring down Tegan Levi, who's back on the field now as they've got 7 players on the field. Levi was yellow carded a little bit earlier. 1 minute to play, and here we go. It's Madison Levi. There she goes, galloping away once again down the left wing. It's so casual. She looks so comfortable out there. She dots down for another for the Australians to lead 12-5.
Yeah, they've spotted there that they know that she's got the gas on Carroll, and they are looking to really highlight that. They're pulling it back that way. She's so fast, and as you said, just such an elegant runner. Really great to watch. Obviously not if you're GB and you're watching her break down, but yeah, no, really good. But this is the thing with Australia, they don't panic. They've had a couple of chances, they didn't take them, but instead of letting it rattle them, they just go, yeah, cool, like, we'll get the ball back. We always do something good with it when we've got it, and they're so relaxed.
Well, the Australians, they are the favourites alongside New Zealand to win this women's competition. They have endless competition between the two of them on the World Series. New Zealand had finished the World Series at the top of the table, but they had a grand final for the first time this season, and Australia stole it in the grand final, much to the frustration of the Black Ferns. Now, the hooter has gone for half-time, but they will play out because they have to do the restart. It is Australia who lead 12-5 here, but they'll need to wait for the ball to either be knocked on or to go out of play before they actually stop proceedings, and Australia will keep playing until that moment happens. Of course, they can score a try, so they won't miss up on that opportunity. The big handoff coming off down this near side by the Australian women, of course wearing their bright yellow shirts and green shorts. Ball is spun away in the end, this time by Parky. She's looking for more players. They're just having to back backwards a little bit onto the halfway line. They managed to get out towards this near side to Tarita. She's come into heavy traffic as she runs into Jade Sheckles. She does really well there. And Jazz Joyce, she is trying to push on the ground. It's a penalty to GB. Now, you might think they'd kick this off the park. No way. They're going to play, aren't they, Kat?
You'd imagine so. I mean, they're into their half, but, 12-5 down. They're doing some really great stuff defensively as well. The work rate in that breakdown to turn that over. And we mentioned Jazz Joyce, not the biggest of players, and yet she's got in there really physical and made sure she's won that ball.
I mean, you said it there, Kat. I mean, Jazz Joyce, she is quite a slight woman because she's so fast. But you have to say, she does get quite beaten up in a game, doesn't she?
Yes, yeah, because, if other players might have 10, 15 kilos on her, so when you're, she punches way above her weight and she's really strong, but sometimes mass is just, it's the physics of it. Someone massive hitting you, you're going to end up getting thrown around a bit.
OK, GB have got a long way to travel. The half-time hooter has gone. It's Australia 12, Great Britain 5. Australia, they're trying to get the ball back from GB, who are deep inside of their own half. And GB have got so far to go. 3/4 the length of the pitch if they're going to try and do something here. Jazz Joyce on the ball once again. Kildun goes in to gather. There's Cowell outside her, but I have to say, the Australian defence is strong at the moment. The captain, Uren, is trying to find space through this huge yellow wall, and there's just nothing coming. This is exhausting stuff from Great Britain. Remember, Sevens is lung busting. Kildun thought she'd seen some space and then loses all the opportunity. It's just thrown into a massive hole. No one was there. Big mistake by Kildun, and Australia are going to steal this. They're going to score. You can feel it coming. They steal it off the floor. It's Tarita who goes in the corner. That will be the half after the conversion. It's Australia 17, Great Britain 5.
And it's that punishment that Australia can do. Like any error that GB make, Australia pounce on it, and that is so damaging because GB have been in this game. They've defended well, they've been feisty, they've been aggressive, but Australia just are outclassing them at the minute with their pace out wide.
OK, so still a conversion to come here. We're just waiting for that to happen here inside the Stade de France. Once that is confirmed, we will head back to Kelly. Of course, all the action coming here on the Olympics night, checking on what's going on in the tennis as well, no doubt, as that does go through with the Australians. Right then, so half-time here, still 7 minutes to go, Kelly, but it is Great Britain 5, Australia 19.
Thank you to Sarah and to Kat. We'll be back with them in just a couple of minutes. And as Sarah said, a huge night of swimming coming up from the pool. Adam Peaty is in action as he goes for gold in the men's 100 metres breaststroke, and poster boy for the Olympics, Leon Marchand, takes to the pool at about 8:30 7:30 UK time, when he takes part in the 400 metres individual medley. He is widely expected not just to take gold, but he could have a shot at the world record in that one as well. We'll bring you coverage of everything that happens in the pool this evening, and we're going to check in now at Roland Garros, where Andy Murray and Dan Evans are in doubles action. Mark Woodford and Russell Fuller are watching.
And still up against it. They lost the first set 6-2 to Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel, and having seen Andy Murray's serve broken in the opening game of the set, then broke the Kei Nishikori serve, but Andy Murray has been broken again, so it is 3-2 to the Japanese pair. And Mark Woodford, Andy Murray's serve has now been broken 3 times in a row, and they're running out of games.
They are. Finishing line is on the horizon for the Japanese pair, but Russell, don't forget that these two who have been playing lights out in the set and a half so far, it's the idea of actually trying to pick up that victory and go through and win that last game. It actually could be a very daunting task for them. I know that Murray has just threaded a return up the line, so he saved game point. And the British pair need to try and make their move now on the Taro Daniel service game.
Yes, Kei Nishikori looked very nervous on serve when he was broken. It's deuce here, 3-2, and deuce, and it's on the Taro Daniel serve, and it's Dan Evans with a backhand return, Daniel with the forehand, Dan Evans with the volley, the lob from Daniel. Murray stretches for it, but no, he's beaten. He knows what a fine lob looks like, and that was most certainly one of them. And game point now to the Japanese once again, Mark.
Yep, that was quite an extraordinary lob by Taro Daniel over the head of Andy Murray. And perhaps the Japanese are just sensing that when these big moments are coming, they're just directing their play towards Andy Murray.
He was going along quite nicely until Miami in March, when he tore those ankle ligaments, and then the spinal cyst operation required 9 days before Wimbledon. Murray's coming forward now, hitting the volley to the back of the court. Daniel with the defensive lob, Evans underneath the smash, and that's a winner to keep this game alive. It's back to deuce on the Japanese serve. They lead by a set to love and by 3 games to 2, but no question Andy Murray's plans for a swan song this summer, which he indicated having been playing in the tournament in Dubai in late February, have been spectacularly derailed by a couple of awkward injury problems. But that, I'm afraid, is what happens if you play for as long as he does. He's 37 years of age now, and that's the Japanese winning another point. It's Kei Nishikori with an angled forehand volley at the net, and they have game point for 4-2.
It's quite a well orchestrated, well played, planned, tactically smart game so far by the Japanese, Russell. The fact that Kei Nishikori, who, according to some of my research, has not played a doubles match since 2021, and the way that he's executed his level of play in this match so far, you would think that he's been competing in a number of tournaments already this year.
Yeah, he's barely played a tennis match since 2021. He's had so many injury problems, a handful of single matches. He's not able to make the volley there because Andy Murray fires the forehand return straight back into Nishikori. So deuce for a third time. Nishikori losing in the singles to Jack Draper earlier today. Wimbledon was only his 3rd tour level event since last July. He's underneath a smash here, which is out of Dan Evans' reach. And before that, he'd had 18 months off and a hip operation. So I'm not saying he's about to retire anytime soon, but he's had, just like Andy Murray, so many physical problems. And it's great from his perspective to be out there on the court, a fine Olympian in his own right, also making his 5th Olympic appearance, just like Andy Murray, who's hitting a backhand return. Nishikori with a volley, Nishikori with a smash, Murray's backhand, dry volley on the forehand from Nishikori. The lob from Dan Evans is short, and the game goes to Japan, and they extend their lead They've won the first set by 6 games to 2, and they lead the second now here on 5 Live by 4 games to 2. And this feels like an important game, clearly. I mean, Britain have got to hold serve, and then attacking the Kei Nishikori serve is perhaps Britain's best hope of getting back into the match now, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with you, Russell. The Japanese pair, even though Taro Daniel's just held serve there, Kei Nishikori and both Taro are actually serving and staying back. So there is still that breathing space for the British pair to stay alive in this match. But first things first, hold on to Dan Evans' serve and then try to just build some momentum against the Japanese on serve.
Volley exchange. Taro Daniel hits the backhand and Evans unable to respond quickly enough. It was hammered at him, and even with his lightning reflexes, not able to make the forehand volley, and Evans finds himself love 15 down. He's been broken once. Andy Murray has been broken 3 times in this first round match. They're playing on the second show court here, the Suzanne Longland court. So it's a fantastic stage on which to end a career, but of course Andy Murray will still have no intention of doing that here this evening, even though things are looking pretty bleak for him now in his final tournament, in his final event in the Olympic doubles, trailing by a set to love, 4-2, and now love 15 down on the Dan Evans serve. Forehand slap back, but into the net by Daniel, and that is 1 point to the British pair.
He went out after that return though, Russell. Second serve by Dan going into the body. I'm sure it would have been directed to the body backhand, but Taro Daniel had a heavy crack at that return, and it just sends a signal to the British pair. You don't want to be exposing too many second serves.
15-all, backhand return from Nishikori, but the let was called by the umpire, so a couple of serves to come. The court is no more than half full in the early evening in Paris for this first round doubles match. 5th match on the schedule, so even though it's quite possibly the final match of Andy Murray's career, a lot of people are sated. They've seen a lot of tennis today. That's a forehand cross-court wide from Nishikori, so Evans still fighting hard, celebrates as he moves to 30-15.
Yeah, nice sliding serve, just trying to move Nishikori perhaps off the court and leaving Taro Daniel to try and cover most of the court area just in case the return goes over.
Evans at 30-15, long with the first serve. He's a very good doubles player, Dan Evans. He's been the runner-up on 3 occasions at Masters Series events. And Andy Murray's had some success too in Davis Cup. Actually winner of 3 ATP doubles titles, 2 with his brother Jamie, much earlier in their career. And that's a forehand that's hit too powerfully by Dan Evans, beating Taro Daniel, who tried to sprint into his corner and slid across the clay. But Evans looking commanding in that particular rally, and now has 2 game points to keep in touch in this second set. 40-15. As Evans serves down the tee and serves an ace, and there is still fight in this British pair. You would expect nothing else. Dan Evans holds the 15. It's still advantage Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel. They lead by a set and 4-3 with a break. Back shortly after the latest from the sevens. And Sarah.
Yeah, well, I have to say here it's a disappointing scoreline if you are a GB fan in the rugby sevens at the Stade de France. It is Great Britain 5, Australia 31. 5 tries the Australians have now scored, including a hat-trick for Madison Levi. Kat Merchant watching alongside here. You have to say the Australians are brilliant.
Oh, they almost, that second to last try, looked like they were toying with GB. Because they had options everywhere and lines of running, and they're sort of smiling as they do it because they just know, but they are class.
They really are. Some incredible restarts as well. So they've got 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. There's not going to be a lot that GB can do here, probably, rather than watch Australia score a few more tries. Right, Australia 31, Great Britain 5. Back to Russell.
4-3, Great Britain trailing Andy Murray and Dan Evans in Andy Murray's final tournament as a professional. Mark Woodford is with us. I'm not writing him off yet, Woody, but how would you sum up the contribution that Andy Murray has made to our sport?
Well, we've had such pioneers over the last couple of decades, haven't we, with Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, and there has been that fourth player, and that's been Andy Murray. And I think, for world tennis, yes, to elevate it to such a high level, high profile, but I think more importantly, back home in the UK, the fact that the players that are out there today probably can dip their hat to Andy Murray and the success and the trailblazing way that he has reached the top of men's tennis.
There was a really strong forehand return there from Dan Evans, though, so they have won the first point on the Kei Nishikori serve, and this is the serve that looks the most vulnerable. Backhand return from Murray, drags Nishikori into the corner from where he nets with the backhand. So this is love 30 now on the Kei Nishikori serve, and Andy Murray and Dan Evans still full of belief.
Bit of momentum there, Russell, a bit of feeling as well, emotion. Both fists pumping at each other after winning that second point.
One round fewer in the doubles than in the singles, so you just need to win 4 matches to win a medal. It's a long way away at this stage, but a double fault from Kei Nishikori, who also double faulted to concede his previous service game, means these are 3 break-back points for Murray and Evans.
Well, again, the finishing line is a lot closer for the Japanese pair, but it's just sometimes difficult. You only think maybe getting through 1 service game each and they'd be home, but the British pair.
Dan Evans reaches the volley, and a big celebration for him as he punches the air. Great Britain have broken to love, and they're right back in this now. It's 4 games all, and now we're seeing those pockets of British fans waving the Union flag, really finding their voice. It's full time in the Rugby Sevens. Great Britain, Australia, Sarah Orchard.
Yes, and it's a loss for Great Britain's women against Australia. They've gone down 36 points to 5. 6 tries in the end for the Australians, who won the very recent World Final in Madrid on the 7th circuit. Kat Merchant watching alongside. I mean, Great Britain will be strong for the quarterfinals, having won against Ireland earlier today, but just the difference in class between the two sides really shone.
Oh, completely. Because Australia are like a very skillful side. They're a quick side. They've got good offloading, but they just look so relaxed. And for GB, they put their heart into it, and they really were trying to be physical, but they just fell short.
And I have to say, watching on in the crowd, I can actually see Abby Brown. She's the former Great Britain captain. She missed out on the games because she's been injured, but she's there to support her side. Big game for them tomorrow. They'll be back in action against South Africa tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Back to you, Russell.
Right, we said when Great Britain were 4-2 down in this second set that clearly Dan Evans had to hold serve. Then they had to attack the Kei Nishikori serve. That went well. They broke the Japanese player. But now the third part of the equation is for Andy Murray to hold serve here, Mark Woodford. He's lost his serve 3 times already, and he's just been passed by Nishikori, and he's love 15 down.
Yeah, they're just going out after his serve, aren't they? Very aggressive off of both sides. The first court, Kei Nishikori, Taro Daniel also seeing the ball well.
Backhand volley from Murray. Nishikori with the lob. It's another beautifully judged lob, and Evans is in trouble. He's running into the backstop, but it was so well struck, so deep in the court by Nishikori, and it's now love 30 again on the Andy Murray serve. And if he loses his serve here, then Taro Daniel will have a chance to serve for the match to end Andy Murray's professional tennis career. Always trying to just wring one last drop out of a professional career, which has already stretched for 21 years. Good serve, and the backhand volley from Evans is a winner. 15-13. So from love 30 to 15-30, that Andy Murray come on that we've heard so many times over the years. How many more times will we hear it this evening and possibly later in the week, because this is back in the balance again at 4 games all in the second set. But it's Murray at 15-30, and he's netting his first serve. And Taro Daniel now in the black baseball cap, Kei Nishikori wearing the white baseball cap, will spy an opportunity. Another chance to attack the Murray second serve. 15-30. It's a backhand return. It's a good volley from Evans. It's a forehand volley from Murray. The backhand volley from Nishikori. Another volley from Nishikori. Now Japan are in trouble, and Daniel has gone just wide with the forehand. Nice volley from Murray, and from love 30 to 30 all in this critical service game.
Huge point for Andy Murray to win. Pegging back to 30 all. This is going to be a really crucial game, Russell.
Crucial game. Crucial point for the man who won Olympic gold in London in the singles, beating Roger Federer in 2012, who then also won a silver medal later that day with Laura Robson in the mixed doubles, and then repeated the singles trick in Rio in 2016 with that amazing win over Juan Martín del Potro. One of the most spectacular tennis atmospheres I have ever experienced, with a lot of South American fans. It might have been Brazil, but they were very much cheering on Juan Martín del Potro on that occasion. 30 all. Second serve for Murray again. Serving to Kei Nishikori, and it's a double fault from Murray. It's caught the tape and it's spun long, and this is another break point against the Andy Murray serve.
Just see Andy taking his time, getting ready for that second serve. It's almost like that he tenses up, clipping the tape, going just beyond the service line. So big point again. First serve is what Andy Murray needs to find.
Break point down. Misses the first serve. Aiming down the tee. Right intention. Not quite the right execution though. Few words exchanged between these two. Playing together for only the fourth time in their careers, despite having been British Davis Cup teammates so frequently. Murray is break point down. He serves. Forehand return Daniel. Backhand volley Murray. Daniel with a forehand. Evans with a volley.
Reflexes. Sharpness of Dan Evans there. Just sitting on the forehand volley. Being able to just pierce the Japanese pair up the middle.
So, sounds reminiscent of a Davis Cup tie, with those chants that are now ringing around the Suzanne Lenglen court in Paris. Roland Garros staging the Olympic tennis competition. A good serve here from Murray. Now the forehand volley. Backhand lob from Nishikori is just wide. He sinks to his haunches as Great Britain celebrates. They were love 30 down. They were a break point down. But now Andy Murray has a point for a 5-4 lead in this second set.
And we know so often, Russell, how doubles can just turn the momentum. Just 1 or 2 points can open up the floodgates, and this is right on the precipice here. If Andy can hold serve, Taro Daniel hasn't dropped serve yet, but it would be a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Murray's gone long with the first serve. You can hear their calls quite clearly, ringing around the Suzanne Lenglen court, but crucially, the Japanese do not know exactly where this serve is going. It's down the middle, and it's good enough to win the point in the game as Murray celebrates the forehand wide from Taro Daniel. And this is Andy Murray celebrating as we've seen so many times over the last couple of decades. Great fight from the British pair. They've won 3 games in a row. They trailed 4-2 and by a set, let's not forget. They now lead 5-4, and Jonathan Overend is also enjoying the occasion. I don't think we expected it to end weakly, limply. This is Andy Murray after all.
This is why he's still playing, Russell, isn't it? And as he looks around this court, Suzanne Lenglen, he sees Union flags and young supporters out of their seats waving, and he's picking them out as he has done over the years at Wimbledon and other big tournaments around the world. This is the competitive spirit. This is the fight that never leaves you as a professional athlete. And I do believe this is why it's been so hard for him to know when to call it a day, because he just loves moments like this when he can turn a match around from a set and a breakdown. It may not happen, of course, but this is why he's still going.
And that was gutsy, wasn't it, Mark? Because he had not held his serve since the opening game of the match, but there he did, and recovered from love 30 down and saved a break point in the process.
Yeah, he is just had to grind out that last game, and a bit more emotion though I feel like he's starting to show, and it's not just trying to embrace the crowd, a little bit towards the opponents who now they've got the pressure that they're having to deal with to hold serve and stay alive in this second set.
It is a very different ball game on 5 Live now, because suddenly the Japanese, who've lost 3 games in a row in the shape of Taro Daniel, are going to have to hold serve to prevent this going to a third set. High chipped backhand return from Evans, who's now approaching the net. It invites the lob from Daniel. It's reached by Evans. Forehand Evans from the back of the court. Daniel's backhand down the line. Evans goes over Nishikori. A cross-court forehand lob. And now Evans misses the low volley. And it's the first point to the Japanese.
Well, it's still a nicely... a point that was well executed. Dan Evans just missing on that final volley, but certainly he enjoyed the way that he was trying to find an opening there.
Yes, if there's a good way to lose a point, that was it. Murray's gone long with a forehand here, so 30 love to Taro Daniel and Kei Nishikori.
And how loose, relaxed Taro Daniel has been on serve. He gets up there, doesn't look like he's about to start the action, and then it comes down at you.
30 love, backhand return Evans, volley Nishikori, reached by Murray, but it's gone just wide, that low volley, which he didn't know enormous amount about. And this is a very impressive service game from Taro Daniel so far, as he serves to stay in this second set.
A bit more punch on the first serve by Taro Daniel, as well as the second, that is helping Nishikori get involved up at net.
First serve long, this time by Daniel, who's playing in his 3rd Olympic Games. Forehand return from Murray into the tape. A love hold for Japan. The red shirts of Japan are now the ones with a smile on their face, and also a determined grimace, as they just congratulate each other on coming through that game with flying colours. 5 games all, second set.
And still communicating there, the Japanese pair, both suffering defeats earlier today, and their work rate together, communicating nicely, and they've been helping each other up. It seems like they have played on numerous occasions, Russell.
They've been a fantastic scratch pairing, these two. It's a good start on serve by Evans as Nishikori hits a backhand into the net. So if Evans can hold here, remember it will then be Kei Nishikori, who's been broken twice in this set, who'll need to hold serve to take us into a second set tiebreak. So the pendulum has been swinging Great Britain's way over the last 20 minutes or so here on 5 Live. Evans nets the first serve. Murray using hand signals behind his back to direct down Evans here, who nets.
15-all.
Well, it's proving to be a long afternoon for Dan Evans, but it could be a very profitable one. He's come through for a win in the singles on his Olympic debut, albeit it was very stressful and hard work against Moe Eshagui, the Tunisian, only just narrowly ranked inside the top 400 in the world, and now trying to get a win in the doubles and in the process extend Andy Murray's career, along with the first serve here, Evans. He's had his fair share of injuries over the last 9 months. The calf popped in October of last year as he serves now, and then the fall at Queen's that damaged his knee and affected his chances at Wimbledon. It's a service winner there from Evans. The serve good enough to force the error from the Japanese pair, and they move to 30-15.
Sending down a thunderous second delivery, Dan Evans, and they're doing a better job of just trying to stop the heavy hitting of the Japanese pair.
Evans long with the first serve. Bright yellow shoes worn by Dan Evans, in real contrast to the blue British kit, but that is another double fault. And it's 30 all now.
Just going through the motions there, Dan, perhaps rushing that second serve. And this is where the danger moments have to try and overcome here. Nishikori, this is the return of serve. If they can just get the first return back over, very helpful for Dan Evans to survive.
Another missed serve, a first serve into the net by Evans. It's 5 games all in the second set. And Japan have won the first set by 6 games to 2. Backhand return from Nishikori. Evans with a low volley. Daniel with a forehand down the middle. Volley Evans. Forehand Daniel. Volley Evans. Forehand Daniel. Volley Murray. Nishikori with a lob. Evans running back. It's long. Huge relief for the British duo. Just half a foot or so over the baseline. And it's now game point to Evans and Murray for a 6-5 second set lead.
Phenomenal effort there by the British boys up at net. Is trying to get the ball back into play, give themselves an opportunity, or an opportunity for the Japanese to miss, and that time a mistake coming from Nishikori.
Game point Evans for 6-5. Backhand return, but it is redundant, academic, because the let was called by our umpire here in the Suzanne Longland Court at Roland Garros. Wry smile from Dan Evans. 2 serves still to come. Tucks one ball into his left pocket. This is a second serve, and it's a nice volley from Murray. And Great Britain do lead the second set, which is on serve once again, Kelly, by 6 games to 5.
Russell, thank you very much for now. We have a huge night of sport coming up for you on 5 Live this evening. From the pool in Paris, Adam Peaty goes for gold in the men's 100 metres breaststroke. Can he make it the 3-peaty? Only Michael Phelps has previously won gold in the same event at 3 separate Olympics. That's what Adam Peaty is trying to do this evening. And in about 20 minutes' time, Léon Marchand, a poster boy for these Paris Olympics, goes in the 400 metres individual medley. He is widely expected to win. He is widely expected to challenge the world record. And a hugely partisan crowd here in the La Défense Arena is already whipping themselves up into an absolute frenzy. It's friendly and there's a frenzy. There are tricolores everywhere. There is an announcer who's cheering the crowd on. The mascot Frisch has been out getting people all excited ahead of this big race that's coming up to open the evening. And Michael Phelps, who coached him to brilliance, is also Léon Marchand's coach, is out speaking to the crowd, and that's the reception that you can hear from him. But it will pale into insignificance when Léon Marchand comes out. That's the person that the crowd want to see. British interest is with Adam Peaty, and that's all to come after we've heard from Roland Garros and Russell Fuller.
And here is the chance for the British pair of Andy Murray and Dan Evans. 4-2 down in this second set, having lost the first set, but they've broken the Kei Nishikori serves twice, and he needs to serve now to keep Japan in the second set, and that's Nishikori missing a forehand. So, Mark Woodford, this is a game of great promise for Great Britain. If they break, they take us into a third set, which will be a 10-point tiebreak.
Yes. Kei Nishikori's service speed is just providing a bit of time for the British boys to set the points up in their favour.
Murray hits the backhand, but he nets, and he cannot believe he's missed that shot.
15.
A lot of time. Just trying to rush. A bit of adrenaline there by Murray. Just need to get the ball back into play and then just try to drift forward and take command up at net.
15 all. Nishikori serves. It's a chipped high return on the backhand by Evans. Nishikori's forehand down the centre. Murray's forehand. Nishikori with the forehand. Murray goes back to Nishikori's backhand. The half volley forehand from Murray. The lob from Nishikori. And this one is beautifully played. He missed one in the previous game, but he's hit a couple of absolute gems in this match, Kei Nishikori, as they move to 30-15.
And Nishikori, a sigh of relief. For the moment, up 30-15. can't be feeling good given that he's lost the last 2 service games.
Andy Murray's shoulders really slumped there as he realised that lob was a good one. Forehand from Nishikori, backhand from Murray. Nishikori now is beaten by a very nice cut-off volley from Dan Evans. A backhand volley, he's now clenching his fist. This is 30-all on Japan's serve.
Brilliant move by Dan Evans across there, and now needs to back himself, get the return back into play.
$30-all. Great Britain with a chance to set up a set point here. It's a high chipped backhand return from Evans. He's reaching for the forehand. It's just over the baseline. He was on the defence there. Nishikori and Daniel in control of that short point, and they now have a game point to take us into a second set tiebreak.
Taro Daniel getting involved there, helping out his partner. Perhaps the way forward for the Japanese pair. They need to be a bit more active up at net on each other's serve.
Very long, that first serve from Nishikori. Third attempt to hold serve in this set. He's failed on the first couple of occasions, but this is the one that will guarantee Japan a tiebreak. Backhand return from Murray is just wide. Murray stops dead in his tracks. Didn't want to hear the call. Missed it by a few inches. Well played, Kei Nishikori. And we go to a second set tiebreak. So Mark, just to remind people of the rules here in the Olympic doubles competition, Great Britain need to win a first to 7-point tiebreak to level the match. They would then need to win a first to 10-point tiebreak, which is played instead of a third set.
Here we go. Yes, well described, Russell. So the momentum clearly right now can swing around quite fast for the British pair, but the job to do at hand is take this tiebreaker.
Good serve from Andy Murray to start the tiebreak. Daniel hits the forehand. Murray hits the forehand volley. The little drop shot from Daniel, the forehand volley from Daniel. Murray's in a bit of a tangle here. Daniel with a smash down at the feet of Dan Evans, and it's first point to Japan in what could be the final tiebreak of Andy Murray's career.
Gee, how well was that point by Taro Daniel, showing a little doubles knowledge, just chipping the ball low, keeping the point alive, and then athletically putting the overhead away.
1-0, and 2 serves to come for the Japanese, and it will be Taro Daniel, not surprisingly, who's serving ahead of Kei Nishikori in this tiebreak, but he's missed the first serve. Can Andy Murray elongate his career just a little bit further? His hip effectively packed in the summer of 2017. He's still out there in the summer of 2024 as a 37-year-old. He's hitting a volley which is wide, and Japan moved 2-0 in front in the tiebreak. But just think of what he's achieved in the last 7 years. Not the Grand Slam titles or the world #1 ranking of the earlier part of his career, but so many memories he's created for us. He won a title in Antwerp with a metal hip. He kept Thanasi Kokkinakis out on court until 5 minutes past 4 in the morning in that 5-hour, 45-minute epic match at the Australian Open.
And it wasn't just Thanasi Kokkinakis he kept out, Russell.
Very true. We've all got our own memories. Brilliant backhand return from Evans. Down the line, keeps Britain in touch in this tiebreak with the Japanese pair 2-1 up, and that is the mini break back.
Brilliant return, just an abbreviated take back by Dan Evans, and moving forward. You could see that there was a bit of an opening and took on the challenge. So back to level pegging for the moment. Dan Evans about to serve.
2-1 Japan. Volley from Murray. Daniel with the lob. Murray with the smash. Nishikori reaching for it. Frames it. 2 points all in the tiebreak. Well, this really is it. You can see why Murray has been able to extend his career for as long as he has. His passion for the sport undimmed, his belief unshaken, it would appear, by the serious injury problems. And there's a volley he'll remember if they go on to win this match. Reaching high, cutting it off at the net. It's another point to Great Britain. It's 3 in a row in the tiebreak, and they lead by 3 points to 2.
And now for Kei Nishikori stepping up to serve. He's been the vulnerable server for the Japanese pair. And Murray having to return serve here.
High return by Murray, and that's smashed away by Taro Daniel, so it is 3 points all at the change of ends. Let's get an update on the boxing from Conor McNamara.
And we are awaiting the arrival into the ring of Pat Brown from Manchester. He's taking on Brazil's Keno Makeda. This is the heavyweight division. Great Britain haven't had a heavyweight medal in over 100 years, but Pat Brown, who trains at Moss Side Fire Station Boxing Club, he's huge. He's 6'6" tall. He's out of the red corner, big bushy beard, and he's getting ready to enter the boxing arena in the north of Paris.
3 points all. This is 5 Live at the Olympics, and this is quite possibly the final few points of Andy Murray's career, but he doesn't want you to believe that, because it's 3 points all in the second set tiebreak in the first round of the doubles with Dan Evans against Taro Daniel and Kei Nishikori. There might be a set down, but they are very much in touch. Evans with a forehand down the line, the volley from Daniel. Evans with the backhand straight into Daniel, who somehow managed to get out of the way of that ball. Now the forehand volley from Evans, the backhand from Daniel, another volley from Evans, a volley from Murray now. Daniel with the forehand, Murray with the volley, cross court. Can Nishikori get there? Yes, but it's smashed away by Evans for the winner. Breathtaking point, and a great volley there from Andy Murray. It was that angled backhand volley that broke the deadlock in that rally, gave Kei Nishikori too much to do, and they win one of the 2 points against the Nishikori serve, and they lead now by 4 points to 3. Murray, both arms raised in celebration. He now has 2 serves to come. It's a forehand return from Daniel. It's Evans with the volley at the net, and that's into the net from Daniel from the back of the court.
And two different pairs out here, Russell, right now. We see the British pair actually taking charge, command of a lot of these points up at net against the Japanese fellas who are on the baseline. That's where they like to play their tennis. So the pair who's willing to brave, take the opportunity up at net, getting the lead here, 5-3.
5-3, one more Andy Murray serve to come. Apologises to the guys for not serving them, but ready to serve now, and it's one of his best serves of the match. Down the centre, fabulous serving from Andy Murray, and it's 6 points to 3, and it is 3 set points for Andy Murray and Dan Evans to level this first round doubles match and take us into a match tiebreak, a 1 to 10 point tiebreak to decide who will go through to the second round. First set point of the Taro Daniel serve, backhand from Daniel. Murray with the half volley, Nishikori with the forehand, Murray with the forehand volley. Daniel cross court with the backhand, and he just beats Murray, who has to twist his body, and that looked uncomfortable, but can't make the backhand half volley pick up.
I like the fact that he's taking on the challenge, and moving forward after a quality return. And well played by Taro Daniel, just putting it out of the reach of Andy.
Second set point, again on the Daniel serve. Forehand return from Evans is long. And this is where it gets a little bit more tense, because 3 set points have become 1 set points. But now Dan Evans is holding the balls. Does that mean he's holding the cards? Will it shortly be 1 set all?
Evans in conversation with Andy, trying to tee up the direction of serve, perhaps where he'd like Andy to move, depending on the quality of return.
Third set point, the baseline boardroom meeting has broken up. Murray's at the net, Evans serves, good serve. Volley Murray! to level this match. They've come from 4-2 down in the second set. They've won it by 7 points to 5 on the tie-break. And there is still life in Andy Murray's career. At least one more match tie-break, which will be the first to 10 points to decide the match for a place in the second round. But what are you feeling about the momentum of the match now, Mark Woodford? Is there anybody who can possibly deny Andy Murray this evening?
Well, just tremendous to see the fight back by Dan Evans and Andy Murray there, and keeping his career alive. And now they've got to navigate their way through this final set tiebreaker. And I still like the fact that they're moving towards the net. It's a brand that I've loved, Russell, as you well know it, having called many matches with me.
Yep, always banging the drum for serving and volleying and net rushing. What's your view, Jonathan, as you watch on in Paris? We can't really think about the end at this moment, can we? Because it feels like the doubles hopes of Andy Murray and Dan Evans are still, for the moment at least, very much alive.
Oh, he just loves it, doesn't he? I mean, that moment when he held both arms aloft, I mean, come on. This could be the final few minutes of his tennis career, but he's still living every moment.
Still out there, like the teenager he initially was. And how he's entertained us over the 2 decades plus on the professional circuit. The Wimbledon champion in 2012, having won Olympic gold earlier that year. The US Open champion in 2012, having won Olympic gold earlier that year. Then Wimbledon in 2013, a second Wimbledon title in 2016. The year he ended as world number 1, having also won the Davis Cup with Great Britain in 2015. That was just the highlights reel of the second set. The players are having a breather. And if this doesn't go to plan, Mark Woodford, as Dan Evans comes back from the bathroom, is there a presentation planned, as much as you're aware, for Andy Murray after this match?
Not that I'm aware of, but I was talking to the president of the LTA, who I believe she was saying just in case there are some planned celebrations, but I don't think it's necessarily right after the match. It's in the ensuing days.
Sandy Proctor, who is the president of the LTA, she is in the front row. Andy Murray is also running to the bathroom now. Taro Daniels just coming back. Kei Nishikori is headed off as well. What's your feeling at a time like this? I guess everyone's a little bit nervous. A bathroom break might come in handy. And part of me, I think, we just want to get on with it. But the players are all taking their time.
Yes, they are. But again, just a contrast from the previous day. Such a dull, gloomy day that we had here today is just played in brilliant sunshine. So I'm sure that all 4 players, and at least 3 of them having to play singles earlier today, have consumed quite a bit of liquid over the last few hours. So just taking their bathroom breaks, getting ready for this, what is bound to be a very tense and exciting super tiebreak.
Yeah, super tiebreak about to get underway, but the atmosphere is building in the swimming pool too, Kelly.
It's absolutely fantastic in here, Russell, because just about 5 minutes ago they dimmed all the lights inside the pool, and they have this light show in which the effect is that there are painterly swimmers and divers inside the pool itself. They ramp up the volume of the music and then they start a light show, and this crowd are so excited because in just a few minutes time they're going to see one of the stars of the game, Léon Marchand, the 400 meters individual medley. He's going for gold. He's trying to break the world record, and they are very much looking forward to seeing this superstar in action. We will bring you all the news of that, Russell.
Thank you, Kelly. Here in the tennis, taking place at Roland Garros. Andy Murray and Dan Evans in a match tiebreak. First to 10 points to decide this first round doubles match against Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel. And it is 1 point all. Kei Nishikori with a service winner, the weaker of the 2 Japanese servers. And then Dan Evans making sure that he has won his first point on serve. So it's 1 point all in the tiebreak. First to 10, once again, The winning side needs to win by 2 clear points. Dan Evans is not convinced that ball is the one that's going to do the job for him here. So throws it back to the ball boy, asks for another ball. It's Kei Nishikori receiving as Evans serves a really powerful serve to him, and Murray does not even need to make the volley. Great serving Dan Evans, and this is 2-1 Great Britain on serve in the super tiebreak. Andy Murray's come on. Knew we'd hear that at least a few more times. Will the story continue throughout the first week of the Olympic Games? Only 16 teams will remain after this round. Can Andy Murray and Dan Evans give themselves a shot at a medal by coming through this tiebreak? First serve long by Taro Daniel. Second serve, forehand return Murray. Nice volley Nishikori, intercepting very, very well and hitting that backhand volley into the thigh of Dan Evans.
Using his court speed. Nishikori, one of the more swift players around the baseline. And cutting off the attempted return by Murray.
It's quite possibly a final Olympic Games for all these 4 athletes. Dan Evans is still in the singles. Daniel netting 2 games all. The pressure also of playing for their country as Evans hits a forehand into the tape. Really went after that return, but netted, and we're still going with serve in the tiebreak.
Not a bad return by attempt by Dan Evans, just trying to go with his strength, that forehand, and directing the return towards Nishikori, who probably is a bit of the more vulnerable of the 2 Japanese up at net.
So it's 3-2 to Daniel and Nishikori. Andy Murray now with 2 serves to come. Backhand return from Daniel, nice volley from Evans, and that's going to be wide from Nishikori as he just tries to scoop that backhand, airborne, does so, but it lands wide. And they'll change ends, and they may change ends many, many times in this tiebreak because it's the first of 10, but given the scoring system and the need to win by 2 clear points, they can often go on a lot longer than that. 3-all is very, very early days in this tiebreak.
And that was a solid first serve, Russell, by Murray, and that is going to be a relevant stat for him in this tiebreaker. If he can just land enough first serves, he doesn't have to red line, maximise the pace, but at least get that first serve into play so that he's not exposing his second delivery to the stronger returns of Nishikori and Taro Daniel.
3 points all. Another conversation on the baseline between Andy Murray, who's wearing the navy blue baseball cap in Team GB colours. Dan Evans without the cap, crouching down at the net, and Evans tried to intercept that volley, got a faint touch, and so the point goes to Japan, who make the break first in the tiebreak and lead it by 4 points to 3.
And that's the beauty of the super tiebreaker, Russell. The fact that it isn't to 7, it's the first to 10. So even if you do surrender one of the points on serve, there's still that breathing space.
Nishikori now with 2 serves to come. It's an excellent volley from Taro Daniel, so 5-3 now to Japan. And I do often wonder, I always think it's not a bad thing to miss the first penalty in a penalty shootout. I've got no evidence to back this up, but I often think that the side that misses the first penalty comes back to win. Will it be the same in this tiebreak here? The first team to drop serve comes back to win, or is that wishful thinking? It's Japan 5, Great Britain 3, and Kei Nishikori has 1 more serve to come. He's serving to Dan Evans, who is hitting a forehand into the net, but the serve was quite a bit long from Nishikori, who was broken twice in the second set. So he's not feeling too great about his serve today. He'll be feeling the pressure now. It's a good serve. It's a sliced backhand return by Evans. He's landed it just inside the baseline. Now Evans is running across the baseline to hit a forehand. Nishikori's backhand. Forehand volley, Murray. Backhand volley, Murray. Pushing Nishikori back. Volley just long from Murray. Hand on his head. in disbelief, stroke disgust. He has such high standards. But also, that scoreboard is now looking a little bit alarming, Mark Woodford, because Japan lead by 6 points to 3.
Yeah, indeed. And the frustration for Andy. He did well to make the first 2 volleys, and probably what seemed to be the easiest of the volleys, but put off by the fact that it was an off-pace shot by Nishikori directed at him. Caught the ball just too early.
6-3 to Taro Daniel and Kei Nishikori of Japan. First to 10 wins the match. But 2 serves still to come for Team GB. And Dan Evans with a second serve here, just a 1 mini break behind. Oh, it's a double fault from Evans. He has been a little bit guilty of that in the second half of the match. And this is now looking pretty serious for Great Britain and pretty serious for Andy Murray and Dan Evans. Is Murray about to play the final few points of his career?
Well, is that the pressure from the first set? Nishikori and Taro Daniel were lights out when they were returning both of the British fellas' second serve. Dan Evans overdoing that one.
(7-3). Dan Evans serving. Hits a low volley, but what a brilliant return it was from Nishikori, right down at Evans' feet. And he cannot make the low volley. And that is both points won against the Dan Evans serve. And Japan now in an incredibly strong position. They lead this match tie-break by 8 points to 3.
And as you said, Russell, just a quality return by Kei Nishikori. Right on the toes, the shoelaces of Dan Evans. Now Taro Daniel, he's been serving so well in this match so far. He steps up.
Taro Daniel with 2 serves to come. Japan 2 points away from the win that will finally end Andy Murray's career. Second serve, forehand return from Murray. Daniel with the backhand. Evans with the volley. That's 1 point back. 8-4. And Evans and Murray at the change of ends. Not yet done.
Well, you can never say never. The fact that both Nishikori and Taro Daniel serving and staying back behind first and second serve. So it was a much more solid return, compact by Andy Murray, and then just rolling off the dice, a commitment by Dan Evans, cutting off the volley. Big point here. We need a solid return by Dan Evans, Russell.
8-4, Taro Daniel serve, backhand return from Evans. Great volley from Nishikori, but it's reached by Evans. Now Daniel from the back of the court, Murray with a volley. Daniel cross-court with the backhand. Now he goes cross-court again, but Murray is resolute on the volley. The forehand volley, a winner for Japan. And Taro Daniel wants to hear a little bit more noise inside the Suzanne Longland court, because that winning blow means that Japan have 5 match points to knock out Andy Murray and Dan Evans and end Andy Murray's tennis career.
A lot of credit to Taro Daniel, keeping his nerve on the forehand volley.
They lead by 9 points to 4, but it's Andy Murray serving to keep his career alive. Excellent serve, an ace from Andy Murray in the way that he won Olympic gold at Wimbledon in 2012. An ace in the Suzanne Longland court in Paris in the summer of 2024 means that Andy Murray is still just about alive. But this is match point number 2 for Japan, as Andy Murray serves to keep things going. A let called. Still a professional tennis player. I'm sure his thoughts are exclusively focused on the job. Can they recover? 1 match point saved, 4 more to save. Andy Murray serves. Backhand return from Nishikori is just over the baseline. Everybody waited and wondered, but the call was clear. And Andy Murray has won both of his points, and that is 2 of 5 match points saved.
Saving it behind Andy Murray's serve. So now we swing around to the rotation. Kei Nishikori, I believe, is about to serve.
Here he goes. Potentially the weakest of the servers, certainly on the Japanese team, but it's match point number 3. And it's a let called. Nishikori's looking tense. He's asking for one more ball. He's asking for another ball. He's getting some final instructions from his teammate Taro Daniel, who's at the net. This is the 3rd match point for Japan to knock out Andy Murray and Dan Evans. And missing down the tee by a matter of a centimetre or 2. The distance that means Andy Murray's career is still just about alive. But this is match point number 3 for Japan, and it's a double fault now from Nishikori. Well, how about this? 3 match points gone. 9-7 in the tiebreak.
Oh, Nishikori just missing by small margins on both those serves, Russell.
9-7. The advantage is still very much with the Japanese. It's a 4th match point to end Andy Murray's career. Nishikori serving. Backhand return from Evans. The smash from Daniel. The forehand from Evans. Nishikori with a forehand into the net. And that's 4 of the 5 match points saved. And this tiebreak is now back on serve, because at 9-8, it's GB with 2 serves to come.
9-8. Daniel Nishikori.
Well, he's written some pretty improbable stories throughout his career, Andy Murray. The belief remains phenomenally strong. Dan Evans has now got to help him out with a big serve here, because it's still match point number 5 for Japan. As Evans just decides he's been disturbed by somebody behind him. Removes the clay from his strings. Match point number 5 for Japan. Evans serves. It's a good one. It's a high return by Daniel. And Evans fires the forehand down the line. And how about this? Britain back from the brink. 5 match points saved. They will change ends again. It's 9-all in the tiebreak, Mark Woodford.
What a remarkable, coolly executed high forehand volley there by Dan Evans. Generally, that one would go up the middle of the court. Russell, Dan Evans directing it into the doubles alley, and for a fine winner.
Doubles are number 1 priority for both Andy Murray, who decided not to play in the singles, and also for Dan Evans, who already has a singles win under his belt earlier this afternoon. But this is the event where they still believe there's a chance of a medal. Did they believe that when 5 match points down in the first round? It's now 9-all in the tiebreak to decide the match. First to 10, but that becomes academic at this stage. It's the first team to win 2 points in a row. Got to win by 2 clear points. This is a great return, but it's just long, in fact, from Nishikori. Evans was in trouble there for a moment, scrambling to get back, but the lobbed return was over the baseline, and Great Britain have won 6 points in a row. And having saved 5 match points, they now have a match point of their own.
And Murray now, it's on his shoulders. Can he pull out a return, just guide it into an open space at the other end of the court?
Taro Daniel will be feeling the pressure. Match point Great Britain. Forehand return from Murray. Daniel is in a bit of trouble and he's netted. And Great Britain, in the form of Andy Murray and Dan Evans, have saved 5 match points, and Andy Murray's professional tennis career is still very much alive. What a celebration between these two, who've been Davis Cup teammates for so many years, hugging each other, jumping around in delight on the Suzanne Longland court, and that was pretty special, even by the standards of Andy Murray. 5 match points saved when his career was seemingly ending here this evening, but not a bit of it. There will be at least a second round match in the doubles at Roland Garros. Murray and Evans save 5 match points, beat Nishikori and Daniel 11-9 in the match tiebreak. They're back on court now to continue the celebrations, the dancing, the cheering, sweat bangs being tossed to all corners, and the delight on their face is a joy to watch. They really don't look like they can quite believe they pulled that one out of the fire. Jonathan Overend, what a spectacular conclusion.
That is as emotional as I think we've seen it over a 20-year career. I mean, extraordinary. And to think that we've been sweating, and he's been sweating over how to draw a line under this career, and how rare it would be for him to experience a magic moment, the problems he's gone through. But there it is, right there, saving 5 match points to win a match at the Olympic Games. Unbelievable. So pleased for him. They might lose in the next round. It might be all over. They might lose love and love. But that was something, and he will take that with him into retirement. Phenomenal effort from both of them.
I agree with you completely. So nice that he had that moment, because he had that fantastic ceremony at Wimbledon, but that was ultimately after losing there in the doubles. But here in Paris, he does have a win. Andy Murray and Dan Evans, and they go on to the second round, saving 5 match points and winning that match tiebreak by 11 points to 9 in a 1 hour and 53-minute match. Jonathan is going to head down to speak to Andy Murray and Dan Evans. You'll be able to hear that interview a little bit later in the day. Well, how about that, Kelly? I mean, that surely had to be it. How many lives does this man have? Well, at least another one. Andy Murray's still going strong.
Russell, that was distilled essence of Andy Murray. You could bottle that and sell it as pure Murray, couldn't you?
We have seen it so many times before, haven't we, in his runs, even at Grand Slam events that he's not gone on to win. But there were big moments in all of those Olympic triumphs, in all those Grand Slam wins. And we've seen it in Davis Cup in particular for his country, winning 11 points out of 12 in the year of 2015 as Great Britain won the Davis Cup for the first time in 79 years. And in a nutshell, that is Andy Murray. Never, ever, ever believes that he is beaten, and I think Dan Evans was absolutely desperate to do everything he could to win that match for Andy Murray, because he wanted to keep his career alive, but also because they will believe that they can make progress. It's 4 wins for a medal in the doubles competition. That is 1 win already secured. The challenge will probably get tougher in the second round, but you're just going to feel so good about yourself and so good about your partner and so good about life if you can win a match in that style.
And Mark Woodford, it is a huge reflection on the way that his career has gone. And I know that Russell mentioned it in commentary. His hip went in 2017, and yet he still manages to pull these performances and these results out of the bag.
Exactly, and I think after the past 7 years, it really is just, he's had to accept that his body isn't responding the way that it has. In particular this year, I even spoke to him after the draw ceremony, and he was upset the fact that he couldn't get here to play singles, that he had tried to put himself into the equation in the singles draw, but his body just wasn't responding. But it can in the doubles, and let me tell you, Kelly, to be able to survive a match like that, we talked about medal prospects. I'm not going to go to Jonathan Overend. What's he saying? Love and love in the next round. He better not say that to Andy and to Dan on the court in the interview. But they are in with a chance for a medal right now.
Good vibes only. That's what we're taking from this match for Andy Murray and Dan Evans. Mark Woodford and Russell Fuller, thank you so much. Back to the action at the La Défense Arena, where the women's 100 metres butterfly is underway. Alistair Bruce-Ball, could we see a world record?
Tori Husk has taken the women's 100 metres butterfly with the very last stroke of the race. We had eyes on Gretchen Walsh, the world record holder all the way. She set an Olympic record in qualifying. The two American swimmers now wrapped up in an embrace at the end of the race, and Tori Husk has taken the gold medal literally out of the fingers of Gretchen Walsh with almost the last stroke of the race, Karen Pickering.
Yeah, it was. She stole that from Gretchen Walsh. Gretchen was so dominant in the heats and semi-finals, but in the final, where it all mattered, she just didn't have that edge that she showed in the stages, and Tori Husk was coming through there, as was Maggie McNeil and Zhang as well, but it was Tori Husk who got her hands on the wall, and she's just crying. She cannot believe that one.
Well, the two were teammates together. Steve Parry have already won a gold medal at the Games last night in that dominant American 4x100 freestyle relay team. Great race again in the pool tonight, and those are the fine margins. And actually, Adam Peaty's final tonight, it could be something like that, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, I thought for all the money, Gretchen Walsh was absolutely going to cruise that final. She broke the world record earlier in the trial. She's looked great all the way through the lines. But this is the problem. Somebody on her shoulder in the last 30 metres caused her to tie up. Someone that was really happy about that, Michael Phelps Kelly, just behind us. He was celebrating the big 1-2. He was absolutely loving that for the Star Spangled Banner. But got to feel sorry for Gretchen Walsh. Everyone calls her the bathtub swimmer because she's dominated in the short course in America, never done it long course. Outdone again tonight by her teammate Tori Husk.
Incredible scenes here at the La Défense Arena. Michael Phelps was celebrating. He's been paraded in front of the crowd here today. His coach is the coach of the poster boy of these Olympics, Léon Marchand. He went just a few moments ago inside the La Défense Arena. He came out to an absolutely rapturous reception. The crowd were absolutely fired up for this one in the 400 metres individual medley.
So the moment has come for Léon Marchand in this packed, patriotic Parisian arena. The young French prince who would be king under the watchful gaze of the man who is king, Michael Phelps, the Olympic great, sitting in the commentary positions right behind us. Léon Marchand, 22 years old, from Toulouse. Thousands of French fans in the arena baying for gold. And they're off, and listen to that roar as the swimmers hit the water. Max Litchfield of Great Britain in lane 5. The 400 metres individual medley, first stroke, the first 100 metres is the butterfly, and Léon Marchand in lane 4, roared on by the incredible atmosphere inside this arena, is taking it out hard, Karen Pickering.
Yeah, asserting his dominance right from the off. There are some strong fly swimmers in this race as well. Sato, Cost and Foster, so you'd imagine that they're going to try and push their strength, but in the early stage it is already Léon Marchand who looks so comfortable, so supreme in the centre lane.
Léon Marchand, smooth butterfly stroke, arms coming out of the water together. Closest challenger so far on his right, the Japanese Daya Sato. Max Litchfield in about 5th or 6th at the moment. Marchand touches, and now we are into the backstroke, and he emerges from underneath the water, gliding beautifully through the Paris pool. Sato still on his shoulder, Marchand in control.
Yeah, Max Litchfield just had a superb turn for fly to back. The red-hatted swimmer who is one lane closest to us than Léon Marchand. Superb backstroke, and he's getting himself back into this race. 4th at the last 2 Olympic Games, Max Litchfield. He will not want to make that a treble.
No, cannot bear to be 4th again. 3rd place at the moment is the American Carson Foster, swimming in his first Olympics, slowly but surely, and the French fans can feel it and sense it. Léon Marchand takes further control, moving a full body length ahead of Daya Sato. It is going to be very tight for the other medals, and this is good backstroke from Max Litchfield. He is still in contention here, but Léon Marchand is just building this lead, Karen, as we move towards the breaststroke.
And the breaststroke leg, this is the one that separates him from the rest of the field. There is no other swimmer in the pool that can swim breaststroke as fast as he can. He'll be going for that title later in the week. Max Litchfield, great backstroke leg. He will now be eyeing up Léon Marchand every time he comes up to take a breath.
Léon Marchand in cruise control. This is a coronation, heading for his first Olympic gold medal. And just like in the qualification this morning, the olays, the cheers, every time he completes a stroke of the best breaststroke and his head pops up out of the water. He hits the turn and is away and clear in the gold medal position. Then Sato, the Japanese, then Foster, but Max Litchfield of Great Britain, fourth in the last two Olympics in this event, still in it, Karen.
There are 6 swimmers in line for the minor medals in this race. Max Litchfield is still one of them. Commonwealth champion Lewis Clarabet is getting back on terms way over in lane 1. He's having an exceptional swim again. It is going to be grit and pride that gets the silver and bronze medal in the closing stages of this race.
Right, we are into the last 100 metres. Massive roar again as Léon Marchand turns. No one else has reached the turn as yet, and Léon Marchand, this French swimming superstar, is away and clear. The gold medal will be his. Karen Pickering now on her feet because Max Litchfield is in a battle for the other podium places, and he is right in the mix here with Carson Foster and Daya Sato of Japan.
Daya Sato, the 30-year-old, was world champion at this event 9 years ago. Max Litchfield having a superb freestyle leg. He is fighting for this medal.
What an incredible noise for Léon Marchand. Lifted, spurred on by the home patriotic French support, and he comes cruising down lane 4. The gold medal is certainly going to be his, but we look further back down the pool and Max Litchfield could be in for a silver medal here. Litchfield against Matsushita of Japan in lane 2. On his left hand side, Carson Foster in there as well. It can't be fourth again, surely. Marshall has the gold, and for Litchfield it is fourth again. The cruelest of Olympic final finishes for Max Litchfield. Fourth place on the podium, right in it until the end. But the king is crowned in the pool in Paris. The 22-year-old from Toulouse sits himself on the rope lane, on the red rope lane, takes the adulation from the French fans, tricolores waving everywhere, and tumbles back into the water with a sense of joy and relief. Then steps out onto the poolside, puts both arms in the air. A first Olympic gold medal for Léon Marchand. There will be many more.
That was commentary of Léon Marchand's gold in the men's 400 metres individual medley, watched on by Julien Laurent here in the La Défense Arena. Jules, what an incredible performance, what an extraordinary atmosphere, what an athlete.
Just what a night, Kelly. I mean, right, we were talking with Steve before, and Steve said he's going to beat them all, and he destroyed them. And the atmosphere before, as you described earlier, during the race, in those breaststrokes, like ABB said, even this morning they were like that. It's just incredible. And I think maybe what I love the most is that his celebration even at the end were measured because he knows there's more to come. I think he knows the objective is not just one gold today. There's more. We said it could be 4 individual, 1 in the team event as well, and he's here for far more than just one gold. But he still takes this one, his first ever, 22. But we said Michael Phelps is behind us, and I think he probably was watching with a lot of pride because there's a lot of similarities obviously between the two.
Absolutely, and not just in terms of you know, the way that they perform and the dominance that they have in their own disciplines, but also in the fact that, you know, he's broken Michael Phelps' Olympic record. He's already broken Michael Phelps' world record, and now he's broken his Olympic record here this evening. Yeah, completely. And there's an interview this morning in L'Equipe newspaper with Chase Callis, who trains with him, who used to train with Michael Phelps, who trains with Bob Bowman and Léon now, and he's saying inside the difference between the two, Phelps was a trash talker in many respects, and he had that. Léon is always smiling. You will never hear him trash talk anybody, but he's a killer inside. And I think the celebration and what we saw was quite muted, to be fair, after a gold medal, is because I think inside him he's got that incredible drive and ambition to go for more. And we said he's only 22 years old. There's 10 more years of him. And I think there's many, many more gold medals to come. And obviously, Steve, in terms of his performance, you said this morning in the commentary when he was in the heat, felt like he just pulled back a little bit. That one was full throttle.
Yeah, full throttle all the way. And, you know, what a majestical swim putting together. 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Let's put that in perspective. He beats the second best swimmer in the world at the Olympics by 6 seconds. You know, that's one of the most dominant displays we've seen in the pool over the last 20 years. And let's get it right. He is the most versatile, the most dominant swimmer we have seen in this sport ever. And it just so happened to happen at a home games for him. And the crowd, it's going to be a party in France tonight, Jules, eh? Everyone's going to be going a little bit crazy. Have you got your French underpants on?
And the socks.
You're asking Jules that, aren't you? There are tricolores galore inside the La Défense Arena. Julien Laurent, thank you very much for joining us. We're in the middle of the men's 200-metre freestyle semi-finals. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yeah, semi-final one has just been swum. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. And Matt Richards for Great Britain went in that one fourth fastest in the heat. The 8 fastest swimmers will make it through to the final of the men's 200-metre freestyle. Mustn't forget, Great Britain in Tokyo 3 years ago won the gold with Tom Dean. He didn't qualify for the team this year, third fastest in the British trials. So Duncan Scott is here, silver medalist in Tokyo, and Matt Richards as well, the world champion from last year. So he was fourth fastest in qualifying in his heat. Karen Pickering in this heat. David Popovic of Romania, certainly one to watch, the 19-year-old. He has real speed in this event.
Oh, he's such a beautiful swimmer as well. Quite old school, very elegant when he swims, and he looks so much taller in the pool than he is even when walking around. Really enjoyed watching him race over the past couple of years. It's a very sort of effortless way of swimming, and he looked really impressive in the heats this morning.
Duncan Scott for Great Britain will swim in lane 7. Very experienced Olympian. This, his third game, 6 medals so far, 2 in Rio, 4 in Tokyo. And now looking to post a time to get himself into the final of the men's 200 metres freestyle once again. Silver medalist from Tokyo, Duncan Scott in lane 7. The swimmers are called to their blocks. Silence falls inside the arena. And they're off. And Scott throws himself forward into the water. Lane 7 is pretty close to us and out early, fast, nice smooth stroke. 4 lengths of the pool here at the La Défense Arena, and going strongly early on in lane 4, of course, is David Popovic.
Yeah, much like he did this morning, he took the race on really hard and then eased back just in the closing stages. But it'll be a very different race this evening for Duncan Scott, who was steady over the first 100, but he's going out much quicker this evening.
David Popovic, the quickest over the first 50 metres. The German in lane 1, Rafael Miroslav, second fastest at the turn, but it is all pretty bunched at the moment. 2.5 lengths to go. Duncan Scott with the very visible and identifiable red swimming cap of Great Britain reaches the second turn in this race, not too far behind the leader, David Popovic, and it looks like Duncan Scott is pacing this very nicely, Karen.
Yeah, it's a confident swim this from Duncan Scott, and we know in past races how strong he is on the closing 50, but he's not messing around, though Giuliani, the Australian, in the bright yellow hat, 1 lane up from Popovic, having a good third 50, but Duncan Scott going well, and when he turns for the final length, he will be breathing towards Popovic. He'll be able to track him as he goes down this final length.
So in terms of qualification for the final, 8 fastest times get through. Scott was second at the turn there, making ground on Popovic, and it is Popovic against Scott, but as Karen picked out, Max Giuliani, the 21-year-old Australian, is up there as well. Duncan Scott closest to us, keeping good form. White water thrashing around his arms and legs as he heads for the wall here. Popovic, I think, will just get the touch first. Duncan Scott in second spot there in the race. Let's have a look at the time up on the big screen. 1:44.94 for Duncan Scott. What did you make of it, Karen?
That was a fantastic swim there from Duncan Scott. He took the race on really well. He was strong in the closing stages. Exactly what you want to see from Scott. I thought that was a superb race. Of course, David Popovic, once again, really dominant in that second semi-final.
Steve Parry, 2 Brits in the men's 200 metres freestyle final. 3 years ago in Tokyo, it was gold and silver. Popovic looks class, but Duncan Scott, second fastest in qualifying. Matt Richards, 7th fastest in that first heat.
Yeah, well, Popovic, I mean, he's a class apart, isn't he? He's brought his A game to this meet, 1:44.5, and he looked in control. He's definitely going to be hard to beat tomorrow, but we can't ask for more tonight than 2 Brits getting through to that final. And I love the way that Duncan Scott approached that, no fear, and he'll go for it tomorrow night. Americans looking a bit scary as well, but you know what? There's medals in there for Britain tomorrow.
And maybe a medal for Great Britain later on this evening when Adam Peaty goes for gold in the men's 100 metres breaststroke. He's going for the 3-Peaty. He's looking to become the second person to win gold in the same event in the swimming at 3 separate Olympics after Michael Phelps did it. Adam Peaty going at round about 8:45 this evening. Team GB's men are in action in the hockey. They're up against South Africa. Sarah Orchard is watching.
Yeah, this is their second match in the hockey competition, Kelly, at the Yves de Manoir Stadium. We're at the halfway point, and it's South Africa who lead 1-0. Now, this is a surprise because GB coming into this, they're ranked second in the world. That's based on England's ranking. South Africa are down at 13th. And I have to say, South Africa, they have come out and they played an absolute blinder so far in the first half that we've actually seen. Their goal came through Andrew Hobson. It was off a penalty corner. Great Britain, plenty of circle penetration, plenty of penalty corners, but no goal yet. It won't be a disaster if they lose this, but it will put pressure on them for the rest of their pool matches. So half-time here at the hockey, it is South Africa 1, Great Britain's men 0.
Sarah, thank you very much for that. Let's go straight to the boxing. Pat Brown of Manchester against Keno Macedo of Brazil in the heavyweight prelims. We're going to pick things up at the start of the final round with Steve Bunce and Conor McNamara.
Pat Brown has got to completely dominate this third round, or his Olympics is going to be over at the end of the very first bout. It's the cruel nature of the boxing. You only get one chance, and he needs something very special here with 20 seconds expired in round 3. Pat Brown from Manchester out of the red corner trying to pursue his very tricky, very agile Brazilian opponent, Ken Macedo. Both of them age 24 years of age. Macedo from Sao Paulo is showing his class though and comfortably leading in this bout with 2 minutes 20 seconds to go.
You can just see how relaxed he's looking, Macedo. He's got through the first round, which was a little bit tight, even though he won it clearly on the scorecards. He knows what he's got to do, and more importantly, he knows what he mustn't do, and that is get sloppy. Pat's got to take all the risks in the world because at this point, with 2 minutes left, he needs a stoppage, he needs a knockout.
And he does take a few risks. A barrage of punches there where he's concentrating on forward momentum. He just let his defensive guard down to try and land a few punches, but Macedo's very tricky movement. He gets in, gets the work done, steps away to find a little bit of breathing space, then a very good reply there, right-footed. Brown, though, with one of his heaviest landed punches of the evening, manages to reply as well. I mean, he's still trying to cling on in there, Pat Brown, but he's only got 90 seconds to go in round 3. Pat Brown of Manchester.
Listen, he knows what he's got to do, and he's trying to do it. He's going to win this round clearly, but it's almost like the Brazilians surrendered the round knowing he's too clear. Pat's just got to find a bit of luck, a bit of fortune, and Macedo's got to walk onto one of those punches as well.
Yeah, with these heavyweight boxers, the increasing chance you don't get it with the lower weight divisions, but one massive punch could be very, very telling, as we well know. Pat Brown with the dark green shoes, just for the first time looking a bit fatigued here. His shoulders down as he tries to continue the motion. Another combination attempt, but it's a tricky weave and a dodge, and Ken Macedo's able to swing his head away from trouble. Then he leans in and the referee steps forward to separate them. 45 seconds of this bout to go.
45 seconds of Pat Brown's Olympics. He needs a knockdown now. He needs Macedo to get up or not get up and then to knock him down again. It's a massive ask. Fairy tales do come true at the Olympics, but sometimes reality is just so strong. And form and tactics and technique and more than that, experience, and that's what's lost Pat Brown the fight here today.
30 seconds to go. The boxing finals will be held at Roland Garros, the tennis stadium that hosts the French Open, and Pat Brown is now beginning to throw haymakers in an attempt to be in contention to go to those finals. He let lash with 4 in a row there, right, left, but he couldn't make them stick on the target, and Macedo hangs on with 10 seconds remaining as the referee steps in once again to separate them. Last chance for Pat Brown. Comes forward, nods at the opponent and smiles, but there is the bell, and the blue gloves go up of Ken Macedo, who believes that he's done enough for Brazil to reach the last 16.
He's done enough to reach the last 16. He's a quality fighter. Silver medals at the Pan Am Games. Got to the quarterfinals at the Olympics. Lost to Ben Whittaker, the great Ben Whittaker, back in 2021 in Tokyo. Silver medals in the World Championships. And to get to the finals of the World Championships, that's your 5th fight against the best fighters in the world. He'll be in or around the medals, trust me, because he's beaten the favourite in this tournament, Mulanjov from Uzbekistan. Macedo beat him.
Yeah,
he's a quality fighter. It was a big ask tonight, Conor, and we knew it.
big-ass qualifying fighter. It's been a story of these Olympic Games so far for Team GB. Their opening bouts have all been against very fancied opponents. As Pat Brown, nice touch there as he turns and he bows and he goes the full 360 degrees around the ring to give appreciation to the crowd who've had very good vocal support for both fighters in the ring. But here is the announcement. In the blue corner, and it is Keno Mikado from Sao Paulo, Brazil, who progresses, and Pat Brown's Olympics comes to a halt. The former scaffolder from Manchester, he gave it everything in terms of heart, but this is a serious level. This is Olympic heavyweight boxing, and Pat Brown was left in the wake of Ken Mikado, a more experienced, accomplished fighter in that rout.
He won the last round on all 5 scorecards, and it was a 4-1 split decision in the end. And I don't want to sound like I'm clutching at straws, because hey-ho, maybe I am clutching at straws, but Pat Brown has come to his first Olympics, his first major tournament. He's pushed one of the favourites, he's lost the split decision, and he's won the 3rd and final round. I'm not saying that's something to take home, but it's not bad. And the former scaffolder is an Olympian, Connor.
He's
an Olympian.
Well, immediately after the fight, Pat spoke to Steve Bunce.
At the end of the day, he just knew too much, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He's an experienced fighter. He's good with the 3 round, isn't he? So got to him too late.
And you knew what he's like, 'cause you've been in the ring with him, but these guys, they're made for these big events. You're the only member of this team, and any team I can find going back forever, who's never been at the Worlds, never been to the Olympics, never been to the Commonwealths, never been to the Europeans. It's amazing that you're here. It's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I was saying that to the coaches for a laugh, just saying I've never been to any major before, but I love the big events. It gets me revved up, and yeah, I absolutely loved it tonight.
It seems bizarre saying you absolutely loved it, but I know what you mean. That sets you up. You're still happy about your future. You still left that ring in a kind of way, sort of not happy, but you can't wait now, can you, to do some more?
Well, there's no point dwelling, is there? It gets you nowhere. May as well look down the tunnel, and there's always going to be light in there. So yeah, I've got some big plans for the future, definitely.
Do you wish you'd have been around 2 years on the international scene and had those Europeans, had those Worlds, had those Commonwealths?
To be honest, no, because them years of me being on my own, I was scaffolding, I was training hard, I was in a dungeon, I was just working, and that's what built me as a man now with my strength.
You'll be back?
Yeah, I definitely will be.
Pat, thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.
What an incredible night it's been this evening at the Olympics. We've already seen Andy Murray and Dan Evans save 5 match points before extending their run at the Olympics and extending Andy Murray's career just by at least one more match at these Olympics. The 2-time Olympic gold medalist Andy Murray will go again after Great Britain's victory against Japan. Léon Marchand, the poster boy for the French Olympics, could potentially win 4 individual gold medals at these Olympics. He's already got 1 under his belt here at the La Défense Arena. The 400 metres individual medley. He did it by setting an Olympic record in front of an absolutely adoring crowd. We've still got the men's 100 metres breaststroke final to come. Adam Peaty takes part in that with a chance for gold for Great Britain, but there is a lot of jeopardy around this race as he goes for the 3-peat to become the second man after Michael Phelps to win gold in the same event in 3 separate Olympic Games. We've got all of that still to come this evening. There's been a goal in the hockey. Sarah Orchard can tell us about that.
It's all level now in this pool match for GB. South Africa won, Great Britain won, and it came in by Phil Roper. Now 32 years old, plays his hockey at Old Georgians, and he did an absolute screamer from a penalty corner, and GB are now level. South Africa won, Great Britain won, still 12 minutes of the 3rd quarter to play.
Sarah, thank you very much for that. Let's take a breath and let's get the news headlines with Alison Hughes.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Thanks, Kelly. The UK is among a group of Western nations urging Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to show restraint after 12 people, most of them children, were killed by a rocket in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Israel blames Hezbollah, which has denied any involvement. There have been strikes in retaliation from both sides today. The Environment Secretary, Steve Reid, is accusing the Conservatives of leaving a catastrophic inheritance and covering up the full extent of the UK's financial pressures. Tomorrow, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is expected to outline what she says is a multi-billion-pound-a-year black hole. The Conservatives say the Office for Budget Responsibility regularly publishes updates on the state of the economy. 2 men in their 20s have died after their light aircraft crashed in a field in North Yorkshire. The plane came down near Selby this morning. And figures from the Home Office show 370 migrants were brought ashore in Dover yesterday. They came over in 6 boats.
He is Brian Cox. Hello. And he understands science. I'm Robin Ince, and I don't understand it quite so much. Could it tell us something about the nature of matter?
No.
OK, good.
Together, we'll be joined by a collection of expert and non-expert guests.
What's going on? Don't worry. Taking a look at some of the most wonderful things in the scientific world.
Science with funny bits. The Infinite Monkey Cage on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport at the Olympic Games.
With Kelly Kitts.
On 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
At 8:44, just over half an hour away, Adam Peaty will walk out here to see if he can win another 100 metres breaststroke gold. Here's how he prepares in the hours before a race.
I like to stay chilled. I like to put on a playlist, a nice R&B playlist. Just breathe in my head that it's not as serious as it is, even though it is. If anything, I'm trying to calm myself down because I'm too excited. It's more excited. Obviously, you get nervous. Like last night, I was like, OK, I could go either way. If I don't execute how I want, I'm going to end up with this result. But if I execute it perfectly, it's going to end up with this result. How do we get to that perfect result? 2 hours out, playlist, stretching, thinking of good moments and happy moments. You know, moments with Holly, moments at home, moments with George. Sure. So flooding the mind with optimism and hope. Because the brain will go into a place where it knows in fight or flight, and sometimes it just wants to fly. It wants to go, wants to fly, but then you've got to keep it in that zone of almost containing it until 10 minutes before that race. And then, as Mel says, I work with an amazing person called Stephen Peters. He wrote The Chimp Paradox. Yeah. Incredible person. And he goes, just let the chimp loose. And then that's when I see red mist. That's when I start to get really angry.
That's what Adam Peaty will be doing at the moment with just about half an hour to go until he's back in the pool chasing gold. But Alistair Bruce Ball, there is lots of Peaty build-up over the next half an hour. Plenty of other action for us to take in as well.
There is, yes. And in terms of the British swimmers, we're looking at semi-finals as well. So in terms of medals left up for grabs tonight, it is only that men's 100 metres breaststroke final. And of course, Adam Peaty again trying to win Britain's first gold medal at a Summer Olympics Games. That is, as you say, Kelly, just over half an hour away. Angharad Evans will go for Great Britain in the women's 100 metres breaststroke. That is up shortly. She was 12th fastest in qualifying. Needs to be one of the 8 fastest tonight to try and make it through to the final. Strong competition in her heat coming up. And the men's 100 metre backstroke semi-finals as well. 2 swimmers for Great Britain in there. Ollie Morgan and Johnny Marshall. And both of those will come before Adam Peaty's final.
Karen Pickering and Steve Parry are also here at the La Défense Arena. And Karen, with that big race coming up for Adam Peaty, really interesting to get the insight into how he now prepares, having taken that time off over the past couple of years to reset, to work on his mental health. He seems in a very good place, certainly is in the way that he describes it. But he's still hungry, and he still, as he said, wants to get angry ahead of the races.
I know, and he's so spurred on by missing the World Championships last year and seeing that world title go to Chin Hyang, and that's really what spurred him to come back. When you think of the difficulties he's been through over the past 18 months, both physically with the broken foot and mentally with the things that he's talked about so openly, we didn't even know that he would be competing at the trials or be in a position to compete at the Olympic Games. But he has put himself in this position because he is just an incredible competitor. He's found a way to enjoy it, and it really does sound like he's enjoying it. It doesn't sound like he's just paying lip service to it. It sounds like he's actually enjoying being back racing. He's put himself in a position where he has the potential to win another gold medal. when really just making the team would have been an extraordinary accomplishment just a few months ago. So I think, I hope that he's still in that moment and just he's so experienced that he can enjoy walking out, and then that competitor will just naturally come out of him, because this race, he won't dominate like he did 4 and 8 years ago. This is going to be a fight to the end.
Because he's not putting up the times that he has done previously, but neither is anyone else, Steve. So how does he have to approach this race where he isn't, as Karen said, going to dominate?
It's going to be a dogfight. I actually feel a little bit sick. I am so nervous for this race, because Adam Peaty has got the physical attributes to win 100 breaststroke 3 times and join Michael Phelps as the only male ever to have defended a title in the Olympics 3 times. But, he isn't in that shape he was a couple of years ago. The field is stacked. World champion Nick Fink, Kim Hyang, we talked a lot about, who's been on mega form. Martin Engi can do it as well. Kelly, he can come first or he can come 5th. And it's literally going to be so tight. It's going to be hundreds of seconds.
What would you suggest to him that he'd do in terms of his approach for this game? No, but to allay your nerves as much as anything else.
Do you know, I just think it's all going to come down to the last 15 metres. Peaty's got the speed. He's got more speed in there than anybody else, but he's got to make sure that he doesn't overuse that at the start of the race, because if he can hold his technique together in the last 15 metres, he will win. But it's all going to come back down to that last 15 metres. I just hope he's not over-excited and doesn't try to push that first 50 too much, because the elephants will be jumping on his back. He'll have no oxygen to finish the race, and he probably will slide way down the field very, very quickly.
Is that a danger, Karen, that he almost gets over-excited, and that's maybe why he's focusing on that calm we started off by talking about, that he goes racing out the blocks because he's 50 and 100, whereas Shin Hyang is 100 and 200, so that their approach is going to be different to this.
Yeah, exactly. And in past years, the thing that separated Adam Peaty out from the other swimmers is he didn't slow down as much. So yes, he had that speed over the first 50, but he could maintain it over the second 50 as well. And tonight is going to be who doesn't slow down. It's not going to be who's speeding up, because we looked at Shin Hyang in the semi-final. He didn't look strong in the closing stages. None of the swimmers have looked really strong in the closing stages. They will take the race out, but it's going to be that discipline in the final 5-10 metres of staying long, staying smooth, and just and focusing on getting to the end of the race, but not focusing on the end of the race. It's still going through that process through the last few metres. And obviously Adam Peaty is very, very experienced, but he has been out of it for a little while.
We talked about the times, Steve, and there was concern, particularly after the first morning, that maybe it wasn't a very fast pool. What's a fast pool? Isn't the water the same?
Do you know what? I think the fellas are making excuses, because the women's races, the women haven't got the memo. The women have been swimming the pants off this pool. Ariana Titmus last night, 3:55. Gretchen Walsh and Tori Husk, they've just smashed it as well. And actually, let's throw Leon Marchand in there as well. He didn't get the memo about it being a slow pool. But I have heard from the American camp, I'll say this quietly because they're behind the scene, I don't want them to think I'm trash-talking them. They're saying, well, the pool isn't regulation, It is regulation. It's not the preferred depth. It's 2.15 metres.
Not the advised depth, is that?
Yeah, so there's regulation, 2 metres. This is about 2.15, 2.2. But usually it's 3 metres for an international. But they wanted to maximise the seats in here. And we know why, because he wanted 17,000 people in watching Leon Marchand. So I actually think the Yanks have been making a bit of excuses for some of their slower swimmers.
But just explain to me the difference that makes between 2.1, 2.2 and 3 metre depth.
It's all to do with the turbulence in the water. So the deeper the water, the less turbulence that you get. It's really interesting as well, because if you swim at your local baths, it's about 29, 30 degrees. But actually what they do at Olympic level as well, they lower the temperature of the water. The lower the temperature of the water, the more the water condenses, the faster you can swim through it. So it does get a bit geeky. I tell you what, I'll buy you a beer later. I'll talk you through all the coefficients of the water and all the rest of it. We can have a field day on the science of swimming fast.
But yeah. Do you know what? If you bought me a beer and I listened to that, I might fall asleep at the end of it. But this idea of a fast and a slow pool, I think it's less intuitive maybe than when we talk about fast or slow tracks in athletics, because you understand the difference that running on different surfaces and performing on different surfaces can bring. But even things like, I mean, when Steve was talking about the temperature, Karen, you're like, it's so cold.
It is so cold. I didn't used to like warming up in the main pool. I used to go in quite often in the warm-up pool because it was that maybe a degree warmer. It makes a difference when you jump in. It's about 27 degrees, isn't it, the temperature?
Yeah, 26, 27
of the racing pool, and that's cold.
Yeah, it is cold, and it's going to be cold for these swimmers going in the women's 100 metres breaststroke semi-finals. Alistair Bruce-Ball.
Second heat of 2, fastest 8 swimmers will make it through to the final. 8th fastest time so far comes from that first heat at 1 minute 7:48 seconds. We have eyes on Angharad Evans swimming for Great Britain in lane 7. She's just been announced out into the arena. She's 21 years old. Karen, this is an international debut at the Olympics here for Angharad. Swimming in front of 17,000 people in this stadium atmosphere. We've got spotlights swirling around the top 2 tiers of fans. Whatever happens to her in this semi-final at this Olympic Games, some experience for her this.
Oh, absolutely. What a way to make your senior debut on the Great Britain team. And to put the times from the first semi-final into some context, her best time is faster than it was won in. So it's all feasible, but it's a very, very stacked semi-final that she's going with 2 former Olympic champions over the 100 breaststroke going in this semi-final.
Yeah, let's take you through the swimmers then, lanes 1 to 8, as they just get ready to be called to their blocks. Tess Schouten of the Netherlands in lane 1, Ruta Meliutite from Lithuania. You might remember that name. She won gold in this event at London 2012 as a 15-year-old. Has taken a couple of years out of swimming since then, but is back in the sport. Lily King, the American in lane 3, is the world record holder in this discipline. Tatiana Smith, lane 4, silver medalist from Tokyo, represents South Africa. Ireland's Mona McSharry was 3rd fastest in qualifying earlier on this morning. Eneli Yefimova of Estonia, Evans for Great Britain, and Macarena Ceballos for Argentina in lane 8. The arena falls silent again. The whistle blows. That puts the swimmers on their blocks. Deep breath from Angharad Evans. 8th fastest across the 2 heats will make it through to the final. And they're underway, and Evans launches herself forward. You can see one of those mobile cameras at the bottom of the pool underneath her lane, speeding along ahead of her as she moves smoothly into the breaststroke. Just 2 lengths of the pool here, and nothing between any of the 8 swimmers really as they make it the first 30 metres or so of this semi-final, Karen.
No, not at all. And it was a good start from Angharad Evans, who's a very powerful swimmer. She comes up high, dives forward with her stroke, the bright red cap coming into the air. But in the early stages, it is Tatiana Smith, formerly Schoenmaker, the 200-metre Olympic champion from the last Olympic Games, who's leading.
Tatiana Smith in lane 4 for South Africa. Meliutite was up there as well. Keeping an eye on Mona McSharry in lane 5, and the 21-year-old Angharad Evans, who has work to do here in lane 7. We're into the last 20 metres of the race now. It is Tatiana Smith of South Africa still out in front. Now Angharad Evans is making a drive for the wall, looking for one of these 8 fastest times. Tatiana Smith touches first. McSharry second quickest in this heat. Another great swim from the Irishwoman. And Angharad Evans 4th fastest in the heat. And Steve Parry, you're giving me the thumbs up. Going to be good enough, is it?
Yeah, I think it looks good enough, that 65.99. That should get her through to the final. And going under 66 seconds, that was absolutely brilliant. And good news all round, she's qualified in 6th.
That was a super swim there from Angharad Evans, and that was all about those last 10 metres there. She really dug deep when some of the other swimmers were just starting to fade. Superb from Tatiana Smith, the 200-metre specialist. She really kept smooth. And Ireland's Mona McSharry, what an awesome race she had there.
Quick word on her, Kelly. When we came to the arena this morning for the heats, we bumped into some Mona McSharry fans. Didn't get a chance to chat to them. Could possibly have been family. They could not have been decked out in more McSharry gear. 23 years old, swimming for Ireland. Was 8th in Tokyo, only the 2nd Irish swimmer ever to reach an Olympic final there, and has been 5th in the last 2 World Championships, 3rd fastest in qualifying this morning, and 2nd fastest out of the semi-finals tonight. So potential medal chance for Mona McSharry. But for 21-year-old Ang Harrod-Evans to make the final in her first international meeting for Great Britain, fantastic achievement.
And in less than 20 minutes, it'll be time for Adam Peaty in the men's 100 metres breaststroke final. Before that, we're going to head to the hockey, where it's the end of the third quarter, and Sarah Orchard's watching.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. It's still South Africa 1, Great Britain 1. And this is a surprising struggle for Team GB's men. They shouldn't be having this much of a tough time against the South Africans, who are ranked 13th in the world. Great Britain have come into this ranked second. They managed to get an equaliser in the third quarter, even through Phil Roper. But the strength of the South Africans, who seem so calm out there, and I was just watching the little huddle at the end of that third quarter as we just move into the fourth now. And I can see the head coach of Great Britain. He's a guy called Paul Revington. He's described in his manner as being a bit like Pep Guardiola. He's quite bouncy, super chilled and excited when he's away from the pitch, and he's a real character that everyone loves, and he gets hugely animated when he is down pitch side. But he's got a big team talk he had to give there just to try and G up this side, who should be doing better. It is South Africa 1, Great Britain 1, still 14 minutes to play.
Sarah, thank you very much for that, and Sarah Orchard will continue to bring us updates from that match. 8:32 for the men's 100 metres backstroke semi-finals, and then 8:44 for Adam Peaty in the men's 100 metres breaststroke final as he goes for that 3-PT. Adrian Morehouse is on commentary duty for BBC television tonight. And he also happens to know a thing or two about the 100 metres breaststroke. He won Olympic gold in 1988. We sent Steve Parry to ask him about the technicalities of the event.
So, Adrian, we've got a rich heritage in this event, the 100 metres breaststroke. A lot of people remember you winning in 1988, but let's get into the technicalities of it. It is the slowest stroke that there is, joking apart. But there's a reason for that, and that's because it's quite technical. So just take us through the event and how you will put it together.
Before I do that, it's obviously the brightest, most intelligent swimmers swim that, not fly, because that's the easy one. So from the off, I mean, the breaststroke, the 100 metres breaststroke is interesting because it's a minute of racing, right? So it's not like so your energy system needs to keep on going for a minute. So the first thing you've got to do is when you get in the water, apart from getting a great dive, and Pete's going to get a good dive, is make sure you don't go too flat out from the very beginning, because you've got to hold this thing for 60 seconds, 57 seconds.
You're worrying me already, because he doesn't necessarily have the best start, and he blitzes the first 50. So you think he's got to stay on top of that tonight?
I think he does. I think that's the key is, because this is going to be a fingertip finish, right? So the whole race, I think he's not going to dominate it the way he has. He's not going to be a second ahead of the rest of the field. So what he's got to do is to make sure right at the end he's got something. And by the end, but you know this, by the end you've got to have emptied the whole tank, right? So physiologically you've got to have given it everything you can. It's about rolling it through the race. So yeah, Adam is a brilliant sprinter. I mean, I wasn't. I wound into the race a little bit. So if I was him, he's got to use the speed, but this is the fine balance, right? That first 50 metres, half the race, he could be fastest to the wall, and he needs to use that. But he's got to have that little bit left in the tank when he's done the turn. So, yeah.
It's fascinating breaststroke as well. Let's just stick with the first 50 at the moment. Yes, he's got to use his speed. But on breaststroke more than any other stroke, you don't want to be slipping water.
Absolutely.
You need that timing, don't you, between arms and legs versus the freestyle. You're turning over your legs and kicking your legs as fast as possible and turning over your arms, but much more technical on breaststroke.
Yeah, no, the technicality on breaststroke is the dead spot. So when people do breaststroke at home, right, you got an arm stroke at arms and legs, and if you keep them too separate, then you just go very jerky. It's like arms, legs. But the key at world-class swimming, it started in the early 80s actually, is getting the roll. So there's no dead spot. So basically, when your arms are finished pulling, the legs are already done their work, and the pace, it keeps on going. So you flow through the stroke. So that's the main thing on breaststroke, and he's pretty good at that. But what happens in the last 5 metres is it starts to tie up, and it gets a lot more jerky, and you'll see that. And so I think that letting it flow, easier speed, making sure you're not doing too many revs, like over revving. Same. I think you and I did the same sort of event, didn't we? Flying breaststrokes, very similar. If you slip water because you go too quickly, you're not gripping the water. The whole point of swimming, grip the water, move yourself past that point.
So I'm going to come back to the last 15 metres because I think that's where the race will be won. Talk to me about the turn. So you got to touch with both hands. That seems like an area where you can gain or lose a lot of time as well.
Yeah, you always train to the wall is red hot, right? You touch the wall, you spin around it as quick as you can, tighten the ball, you don't want any resistance on you. Then you go down under. The one stroke, well, all the strokes now go down under the water, not too deep. If you go too deep on breaststroke, you've got to get back to the surface.
Yep.
You got one pull, one kick, one fly kick now you're allowed. And then to the surface. And I think at that point, because you're holding your breath as well under the water, so that's another thing that's going to add to the energy deficiency. So up and don't lose the speed, because it's fastest underwater. Swimming is fastest underwater. So when you come to the surface, you slow down naturally. And breaststroke, because your chest comes out of the water, you've got a natural bit of resistance there as well. So you come up and you'll pop down there, and you'll probably have a little look either side, because breaststroke, you can't really look during the race. So sneaky look either side on the turn. I mean, I say
you're not turning your head though, are you? You are
absolutely
looking
not.
forward.
You're looking forward, but you've got this peripheral vision where you know where they are.
And then just this last 15 metres, I've been concerned because Peaty looks like he's been tying up, losing a bit of his rhythm in the last 15 in the semi.
Yes.
I think that could be his problem tonight. How does he keep it together?
Well, to be honest with you, I think we've got to look to the heavens.
Really?
No, seriously. Put
your hands together and look up.
I think it's everybody's going to feel the same way, right? Because, as I said at the very beginning of this, you empty your tank, so everybody's going to do the same thing. And in breaststroke, your arms get really heavy. You're holding them out the front. They're pretty much right in front of you, and they start to point down the bottom of the pool. You've got to keep them up, and it's the most painful thing to hold your technique. So he will be, as you said, get a little bit jerky. You'll see his head go a little bit, but ultimately the same thing will happen to all of them. And we're all just going to sit there and go, hope he gets the fingertip touch.
And then you got to spot that finish, right? A few strokes out, finish on a full stroke. Is he going to do it, Adi?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Well, spotting the wall, you train for that, you know this. It becomes second nature in the end. So he'll be able to work that from 10 metres out where the full stroke is. Will he do it? A big part of me believes he will do it, because I actually think scrapping tough, if he can do a 58 low, I think it's 58 low will win it. Not even under 58 maybe. And I think that, I think there's something in destiny here going on. I think and I believe he will do it.
That was Adrian Morehouse talking to Steve Parry a bit earlier. Karen Pickering's listening as well. Karen, he talks for 5 minutes with Steve about the technicalities of it, about all the things he's got to get right. And then at the end he says, I think he'll win it because of destiny. Sometimes you just need the stars to align.
I know. I mean, that is the beauty of sport, isn't it? And the most unpredictable things happen, the most amazing stories unfold, and more than anything, we do hope that's what's going to happen. It's interesting we're talking about such a close race, because, of course, when Adrian Morehouse won his gold medal, you can watch that race lots of times and almost not see him get his hand on the wall first. It was the perfect finish. It was a fingertip touch that got him that gold medal. So he's the expert on understanding how to keep it together in the closing stages. And, it is 58 seconds of pain. It's 58 seconds that he has worked for, and all of them, of course, all the swimmers are in that same position, that they're not going to give up under the pressure. He wants this. He's enjoying being back racing again, and I just hope that he's the one that can just keep it together and get that touch. We all do. I'll be swimming the race. Quite often I start doing the motion through the water as they're racing, going along with him. I'm sure it helps.
I'm sure we should just start praying or dancing or something. I think that's where we are right now. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird feeling, because always with Adam, we've just gone popcorn out, like sitting the lazy boy, let's see how fast he's going to go, because he's already got the medal around his neck. It's a weird feeling, this. It's totally weird, but it couldn't be more apt for his final race.
And if he does win, then it's all the sweeter, isn't it? The jeopardy just makes that winning feeling even stronger, and there's not long to go now until we see that in action. Just if they run to time, it'll be just over 10 minutes. We are running slightly late, but just make sure you're here on time. You do not want to miss that one. It's supposed to be at 8:44, but we are running a little bit behind time. We're going to catch up with the hockey as well. Team GB's men are in action, and Sarah Orchard is watching.
And just as you come to me, this is not good for Great Britain, Kelly. South Africa have just gone ahead for the second time in this match. It's now South Africa 2, Great Britain 1. It was a well-worked field goal by South Africa, literally from one end of the pitch down to the other. And Great Britain, they have just struggled so much in this match against the South Africans. You cannot figure out why. Something is just not clicking for them again today. We're just seeing replays on the big screen of a brilliant goal that's just come in. I think it was scored in the end by Sherwood, who managed to completely outfox the Great Britain keepers. So problems here for Great Britain. Still likely to make the quarterfinals, but they're making it hard work for themselves. It's South Africa who lead 2-1. There's still 7 minutes to play.
Thank you very much for that, Sarah. You're going to keep us up to date with everything that happens there. We're building up to that men's 100 metres breaststroke featuring Adam Peaty at 8:44 and Alistair Bruce-Ball. Couple of races before then as well.
Yeah, I mean, these two are making me very, very nervous. British backstrokers to go next. These are semi-finals again. We are looking for the 8 fastest swimmers across the 2 heats. Both of them competing in their first Olympics. Ollie Morgan, 21 years old, will go in the second heat of the 2. And 19-year-old Johnny Marshall, interestingly born and raised in Akron, Ohio. He's at the University of Florida, but swims for the British team. Swam a great time at the British trials, the 4th fastest 100 metres backstroke in British history. That is what has brought him to this Games. And it's similar in a way, I think, Kelly, these next 2 swims to the Angharad Evans swim we saw in the semi-final. You know, first Olympic Games, major pressure, semi-final. Let's see what these guys can deliver. Evans made it through to the final, and both of these guys will have a chance.
So Ollie Morgan goes in the second of the semi-finals and wasn't really a familiar name until last year. He only started elite swimming when he got to university. So what gives him the passion for the pool?
I think it's just the overall enjoyment I have just for sport in general. You know, I'm into football, I'm into all different kinds of sports, and swimming for me is something that I've always loved. And I think it's the way that no matter what level you're competing at, you've got that professional kind of edge over most other sports where it's the same every time you race, no matter where you're racing or who you're racing. You know, you have that lane and you're controlling that.
What sport would you switch to if you had to then, Ollie? It sounds like you're pretty good at most things you try.
I think ever since, you know, going into swimming properly, I've not been able to play football. So I always used to love playing football at the weekends. I used to play for Bishop's Castle. It was just good fun, you know, being with a good group of lads and playing football. Yeah.
You haven't come from nowhere because you've put the work in for many, many years. But obviously, in terms of the public knowing about you, seemingly you've come from nowhere.
Yeah. You could say, I burst onto the scene last year when I won all 3 at the British Champs and then made my first Worlds team. But we'd kind of been on the edge of, you know, the selectors and things for a couple of, I guess, well, for a year or so. When I joined uni, it was always, you know, keep working, know what we're here to do, and keep driving it forward and improving.
Karen, it's an incredible sort of rise for Ollie Morgan to get to this level, having only really focused on swimming when he got to university.
Yeah, he swam at Ludlow Swimming Club as a kid, but they didn't really have the pool time and the hours that you would need to be successful as a junior. But I think that's just really interesting and makes him a great role model for a lot of kids. You don't have to be the best at 12, 13, 14. And in fact, a lot of the kids that are the best at that age aren't able to maintain it, aren't able to keep that amount of training going and the mental stresses of it. They're not able to keep that going into being a senior.
Isaac Cooper, the Australian swimmer who's out here in Paris, has changed his training regime around. He said he's started doing MMA, he's been doing tennis, he's been surfing 3 to 4 times this week, and he's using them as training sessions. Do you think, Steve, that that's something that, if you're not a swimmer who loves swimming, if it's your job, if you find the kind of mental pressure of that, 10 sessions a week of that really intense training, if you find that a lot, is that a way of, making your career have a bit more longevity?
I think it's absolutely brilliant to mix up the sport. You know, it doesn't matter what sport you're doing at the highest level. It's great to take the focus off that intensity that you get day to day on doing the sport that you're dedicated to, and even more so at a grassroots level with kids as well. Our kids, whether it be football or tennis or swimming or any sport, they're focusing far too early on that sport. And I think Ollie's a great example of actually doing multiple sports because it gives you the results in the end.
That's the first of the men's 100-metre backstroke semi-finals underway. We'll bring you the result of that, and of course we'll bring you commentary of the second one, which will feature Ollie Morgan, who we're talking about now. When he swam in the heat, you talked about his kind of background, Karen, and there was a fan zone at Bishop's Castle Community College. There was a big screen to watch, and they had events during the days. And I just wonder about the sort of impact that his rise to fame can have on small communities and on small swimming communities.
Oh, absolutely. You know that every single person at Ludlow Swimming Club is going to be watching what he can do and watching his build-up and the rest of his career. So the ripple effect is massive.
Plenty of ripples in the water at the moment, Alistair Bruce-Ball, as we come to the end of that semi-final.
Yeah, tight finish. First semi-final of the men's 100 metres backstroke. Plenty of noise in the stands as well. That is because the Frenchman, Johan Ndoye-Brouard, was second fastest in that heat. That has got to help these home swimmers. We heard it with Léon Marchand as well. It drives them down the final length there, and he's clenching his fist and celebrating. Thomas Cecon, the Italian, superb, versatile swimmer, was the fastest in that heat. And Johnny Marshall of Great Britain, as we said, first Olympics for him, Steve, 19 years old, 8th fastest in the heat. I know you were chatting away there. Did you watch the swim? What did you make of it?
Yeah, saw his swim. He was off to a bit of a slow start, which is unusual because Johnny trains out in Florida. Florida are renowned for having the best starts, the best turns. You know, they've got one of the best college programs in America, so it's unusual that he was off to a slow start. But let's be clear about Johnny. He's got a promising season. This has been his breakout season, and he's made an Olympic semi-final. But this simply will not be good enough for Ollie Morgan. We need some British representation in that final tomorrow night, and Ollie will have his eyes on the prize there. Just a note on Cecon there, the Thomas Cecon, the world record holder in this event. The Italian, again, he's off his onions. He should be going much faster than that. He should be putting down a better time. So it's not, it's tough. These guys can't turn up at every Olympics. A little interesting fact about the Olympics. Less than a quarter of people do a best time at the Olympics. You know, if you think about a World Championships, you're in a hotel, you've got your own transport, you've often got your own nutritionist, maybe even your own pillow. This is a much more hostile environment than a World Championships, and that's why we don't see best times being done all over the place.
Why is it? Why is it set up that way, do you think? Is it, to
Numbers.
Preserve the purity, or is it just a practical consideration?
Pure logistics. So I was chatting to a couple of coaches down on poolside yesterday. It's taken them between half an hour and an hour and a half to get to site from the village because they can hop on a bus and end up going in the wrong direction. That is the nature of the Olympic Games. The food isn't as good. You're in a hall serving 10,500 athletes. The beds aren't as good. You're not in hotel beds. You're billeted in, multiple people.
We've seen a lot about the cardboard beds, the anti-intimacy beds.
Is that what they are?
That's what they've been called, the anti-intimacy beds.
Do you know what? I reckon they'll find a way.
Listen, if you're keen enough, you can always find a way. But that aside, Karen, this idea that the preparations aren't always perfect for these athletes is an interesting one. And then the fact that they're, less than a quarter of them are performing their personal best when they get to an Olympics, given the attention to detail that they've put into all their preparations, I think that'll be genuinely surprising to people listening.
Yeah, and that's why athletes, they have to prepare to race when they're not feeling at their best. I've had swimmers where I work at school who say, I don't think I'll race this weekend because I'm quite tired. I'm like, no, that's when you have to race. You wake up on the morning of the Olympics and say, I don't think I'll do it today, I'm feeling a little bit tired. You have to prepare in all different circumstances. So swimmers race when they're not rested. They race multiple times in practices and competitions leading up to it. They try and make it as tough as possible. So even at the Olympics, it's not as tough as they put themselves through previously.
There's been a goal in the hockey. Sarah Orchard.
It's an equaliser for Great Britain. It's now South Africa 2, Great Britain 2. Finally, Sam Ward, who is a prolific scorer for Great Britain on the regular circuit, gets his Olympic goal. But there's still a minute and a half to play, and Great Britain have pulled the keeper off. They're desperately trying to win this pool match against South Africa. It's 2-2 with a minute to play.
We've talked about Ollie Morgan's rise. Let's see if it takes him to a place in an Olympic final. The second of the men's 100 metres backstroke semi-finals with Alistair Bruce-Ball.
And of course, Adam Peaty's breaststroke final as he goes for the three-peat here in Paris is the next event in the pool. That is a few minutes away. Tension building all the time. The French fans are in party mood. Karen, you've actually spotted an area, top tier, sort of diagonally away to our left-hand side, where they seem to be having a particularly good time. We have a French swimmer, you probably heard a massive roar a couple of minutes ago in this heat. This is the second heat of the men's 100 metres backstroke semi-finals. Mewan Tomac in lane 1 and Ollie Morgan closest to us in lane 7, but they are having a good time up there.
Oh yeah, that's the party corner. They've clearly put all the troublemakers up there out of the way, but they're having such a great time.
That is why it has caught, go on Steve, it's caught your eye as well, isn't it?
Yeah, know where I want to be.
Right, Mewan Tomac in lane 1 for France. Hunter Armstrong, the current world champion, the American, in lane 2. Saweri Masiuk, the Pole, qualified impressively this morning, lane 3. Hubert Kos of Hungary in lane 4. Apostolos Christou in lane 5, European champion, third fastest in the world this year. G.I. Zhu of China in lane 6, Ollie Morgan for Great Britain in lane 7, Blake Tierney for Canada in lane 8. Really enjoy the start to the backstroke. The whistle goes, and then they flop into the water. The swimmers turn to face the wall, grab a little sort of swing contraption to get themselves in place, and then hold on to the two metal poles of the diving blocks to get themselves into launch position. In a second, you'll see them, so knees tucked tightly to chest at the moment, you'll see them lift themselves now out of the water, and away they go. Launch themselves backward, go really quite deep under the water, powerfully kicking, then they emerge, and Ollie Morgan away in lane 7, but already on his inside in lane 6, Zhu, the Chinese athlete, has got off to an absolute flyer.
Yeah, Zhu made Morgan look pretty average on that start, but what Morgan does have is a very strong finish, which we saw in the heats, and it is Zhu that's going to turn first for China.
So Zhu turns first, then Christou for Greece, and Hunter Armstrong, the American, third on the turn. What has Ollie Morgan got in the locker now as they come down the last 50 metres of this race? 30 metres to go. Zhu is still just out in front. It's getting tight, and Ollie Morgan is coming back into this now and needs to dig deep and push hard and keep going. Over in lane 2 as well, Hunter Armstrong coming on strong, but Ollie Morgan powering home here. Zhu touches the wall first. Morgan comes third fastest in the heat. In between them, it was Apostolos Christou, the Greek, and Steve Parry has immediately switched to the results screen here on our left-hand side. It's going to be good enough, surely, for Ollie Morgan, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's going to get himself in one of the outside lanes there for the final. How good was he over that last 20 metres? He really did finish strong, and just there, we've got confirmation here. He's made the Olympic final by 12 100ths of a second. What a finish, Ollie Morgan.
Yeah, he gave the other swimmers quite a head start there as well. It's frustrating to see how hard he has to work to catch up in the closing stages, but he got the job done. You can just work on that skill, the start, and be up there in the race without having to catch back.
Well, that was exactly what Ollie Morgan wanted, exactly what he needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really helped him being next to the Chinese swimmer Zhu. I mean, he went out so fast, Zhu, and he is now the hot favourite for tomorrow. He's half a second ahead of the rest of the field, and I think, ironically, that really helped Morgan, who was on his outside and was just focused on trying to catch Zhu there. But, you know, it's so close. I mean, tell him quietly, Ollie Morgan is 0.2 of a second outside of the medal places. You know, this is a kid that didn't take up the sport properly till he was 18 years of age. He was playing footy and playing on his BMX. Maybe that's the secret. I hope Peaty's got a BMX where he's warming up by the pool back there and kicking a ball around.
Learn through play and bunny hops. That's what they need to be doing. So Ollie Morgan, with, as we said, a time that is just 0.2 of a second off the medal places. We will see him in action in that final. It looks incredibly likely Ollie Morgan will be in there. We've got the 100 metres breaststroke final featuring Adam Peaty still to come tonight, and it's full time in the hockey. Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, Great Britain's men's second pool match is over. They've drawn 2-2 with South Africa. It's not a disaster, that result, but it's still not great for GB. South Africa, the lowest ranked team in their group. They would have expected a big win ultimately, and a lot went on in this match, Kelly. There was some kind of beef going on between the two captains, Diane Kassam of South Africa and then Great Britain's Ames. There was something going on down at pitchside between the coaches as well. It's been a real fractious match, but it is a draw. GB's next match for the men, that's going to be against the Netherlands coming up on Tuesday, but it's finished 2-2 against South Africa.
Sarah, thank you very much for that. The time is almost upon us. Only Michael Phelps has won the same individual swimming event in 3 Olympic Games. Adam Peaty is looking to do that this evening. He's looking to complete the 3 Peaty, the men's 100 metres breaststroke. This is going to be a tougher challenge than he's faced in the past. Alistair Bruce-Ball.
Given what Adam Peaty has been through in the last 2 years as well, remarkable that he is even about to march onto pool deck here and compete in the men's 100 metres breaststroke final, an event he has dominated in the past for nearly a decade, but this is going to be a different kind of final tonight, Steve Parry. We have seen him blitz fields and everyone else is just competing for the minor placings. This is going to be an absolute dogfight this evening. The American, the world champion Nick Fink on his way out. Peaty will be next.
They're all dangerous here. Nick Fink, world champion, Martinenghi, the Italian. You know, I think he needs to forget everything that's gone before in Peaty and just remember how he used to race as a kid. This is about getting down and dirty and beating the guy next to you.
Arno Kaminga of the Netherlands, a dangerous competitor, is out next. Bright orange coat. Dutch fans in the stands on their feet, waving the scarves, headphones clamped tightly to his ears, shades on, and he heads off towards lane 3. Here probably is Adam Peaty's strongest rival for this gold medal. Chin Hai Yang, who's been doing a bit of trash talking over the last year or so ahead of this event. He desperately wants this gold medal. World champion last year and came in as favourite for the title. Here he is now, Great Britain's Adam Peaty, and a smile just gently creeps across his face. Looks up to the skies, looks around to the packed stands with the spotlight swirling everywhere, bright red swimming cap on his head, and he immediately starts to take off the top. These are the nights, Karen Pickering, for athletes like Adam Peaty. They don't come around very often. We have seen him win Olympic gold medals in Rio and Tokyo. This a different battle. I think this is going to be an absolute nerve jangler from start to finish. But it's the kind of event that Peaty's made for.
It really is, and I think the challenges that he's faced just to be here have put him in great shape to face the challenger of this final. He's making the swimmers wait just like he did in the former rounds. 7 swimmers are up by their blocks, but Adam Peaty very, very slowly stripping down.
Bit of gamesmanship from the hugely experienced Adam Peaty, 29 years old. The long trousers are off. Everything goes into that big blue box behind his blocks, and finally he walks towards the blocks. Lucas Matzerat, the German, in lane 1. Casper Corbo of Netherlands in lane 2. Arno Kaminga, also of the Netherlands, in 3. Peaty in 4. Chin Hai Yang of China in 5. Nick Fink, the American, in 6. Nicolo Martinenghi, bronze medalist in Tokyo, silver medals at the last 2 World Championships, another dangerous contender, and Melvin Imadou, who came through the swim-off last night to make this final. It will all be decided in the next minute or so. Adam Peaty chasing something very special indeed. The whistle blows and the swimmers slowly climb to the blocks. Peaty kicks right leg and left leg back, gets into the diving position. They wait for the go. Take your marks. And they throw themselves into the water. Adam Peaty needs a fast start, but as Steve Parry has been saying, and Adrian Morehouse as well, not too quick. Chin Hai Yang on his right-hand side just has the edge on Parry, Karen, and they are shoulder to shoulder, Peaty and Chin Hai Yang.
Yeah, they are. And Chin Hai Yang, very, very fast stroke rate. Peaty, not quite as high out of the water, but very strong in this first 50 metres. As he gets his hand on the wall, they turn towards each other on that first 50. It's Chin, 500ths a second ahead of Peaty.
0.05 between them, and suddenly the race is on, and this is it, 30 metres to go. Chin is just out in front. This is everything for Adam Peaty. Back in the Olympic pool again, and he's climbing, and he's crawling, and he's driving, and he's getting ahead of Chin Hai Yang. Got to watch the swimmer as well. Martinenghi in lane 7. Danger coming from Nick Fink as well. It is so close at the end, desperately close. Peaty still going, and he gets the silver medal in the end. The Italian Nicolo Martinenghi stretches forward and takes it at the death. Huge smile across his face, arms aloft, and Adam Peaty was millimetres away from a third consecutive gold medal. The ultimate warrior in the pool for Great Britain. And 10 metres out, 5 metres out, we thought that was going to be his. He's still smiling. He's enjoyed it. It wasn't to be. Incredible that he's on the podium again. The fine margins of sport, and very sportingly as well. Peaty immediately ducks under the ropes, heads over to lane 2 and congratulates the man who has beaten him in such a tight finish in the Olympic final. Martin Engi takes the gold, Adam Peaty with the silver.
It was joint for silver, I think, with Nick Fink as well. They tied, I believe, looking at the scoreboard over the other side. That's just how close it was. 0.02 of a second. All that came down to on the final stroke. Adam Peaty had a slight glide into the wall on that final stroke. Martin Engi did not. He smashed the wall and he took that gold by 0.02 of a second. What a race.
Well, guys, that's unbelievable. What we've got there is a slower swim than the heats and the semi-finals, and we said it was going to be about a race, and we said it was going to be dirty. 0.02 of a second separate first to third, but just imagine if you were writing these headlines before they're going in, where was Haiyang? He just disappeared off the map. He took it out so hard there, he tied up at the end. But Martin Engi, the Italian, he stayed calm and he delivered 59.0, wins the men's 100 metres breaststroke.
Would never have thought that the last Olympics, never imagined that it would take a time like that only to win it, but it's about racing, and what a great race that was.
Given where Adam Peaty has been, I think you could see it in the reaction there, Kelly, as well, and an acceptance. I think an acceptance we wouldn't have seen in Rio or in Tokyo when he absolutely came in as the standout swimmer. This has been a very different competition for him. That was agonisingly close, but I think everything he's been through in the last couple of years, and we look forward to hearing from him later on, probably puts things in perspective a little bit. His son is here. He's been watching him compete. I mean, you know, so close, so close to a third consecutive gold, to doing something that only Michael Phelps has done as a male swimmer. But we said it right at the start, it was going to be an absolute dogfight, and in the end, Martin Engi just edged him out.
Tell you what he has done, Steve, that Michael Phelps has done before, which is tie silver. And it was a three-way tie with Michael Phelps in Rio.
Yeah, that's right. He tied with Laszlo Che and somebody else. I can't remember.
Chad Leclos.
Chad Leclos, yeah. But do you know what? I think Adam goes to bed tonight, and I think he ends up being incredibly proud of himself. There is nothing that this guy has not done over the last 10 years. In fact, he's done everything more than twice. World Championships, Commonwealth Games, Europeans, Olympics. He's been the talisman of the British team, but he's faced his hardest fight he's ever had over the last 2 years. And we've rehearsed those problems multiple times. He's gone to the Olympic Games and got a silver medal in the final with his boy watching on. I think it's the crowning event of his career.
Even though it's a silver rather than a gold, would you go along with that, Karen?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said earlier, we didn't even think he'd be on the train coming out here to these Olympic Games 12 months ago. We were sitting talking about it as Chin Haiyang won that world title, thinking, would this be the thing that makes him want to come back, give him that bite and whatever he needed to get back in the sport, and it was, but easily it could have just been, actually, you know what, I'm okay with what I've done. But he wanted another go. He found a love for the sport again, and I think in some respects, you know, when he looks back, that to come back from what he went through physically and mentally to become Olympic silver medalist, and we've seen just in the 2 days how hard it is to win an Olympic medal. He should feel incredibly proud of himself, what he's achieved tonight.
You know, he was motivated to come back from Chin calling him out last year at the World Championships, saying, I want to win the Olympics and I want to break Adam Peaty's world record. That was the motivating factor for Peaty getting back in the water, and guess what? He beat him.
But he did beat him, and that was the swimmer that he clearly most wanted to beat. He loved, obviously, to get the gold, but he did want to beat Haiyang Chin. And Karen, it's interesting because Steve was saying beforehand about the difference between racing against the clock and racing against your fellow competitors.
Yeah, exactly. And in the Olympics, you know, people talk about being the Olympic champion. They don't say Olympic champion and then the time after. You know, that's not what's important on a night like tonight.
It's not important on a night like tonight, but he did still have to get absolutely everything right. You talked to Adrian Morehouse about it beforehand, Steve. Did Adam Peaty execute everything as well as he possibly could have done in that race?
No, he didn't. He swam better last night. If he did in the time that he did last night in the pool, in the same lane, if he'd have just done that time, he would be Olympic champion. He went faster in the heat as well. The slowest swim that Adam has done at this Olympic final was in the final. But we said it was always going to be about racing. I think Adam beat every single person that he was thinking he needed to beat in order to be the champion. But because the focus was there in the middle of the pool, you know, Nick Fink and also Chin, as we've talked about so much, Martin Engey was given the perfect opportunity to come from lane 7 and nick it. And Nick, he absolutely burgled that gold medal because everybody else was looking at each other in the middle of the pool. You know, I love races like that because too often swimming is about the process and about putting a process together to give you the result. No one was thinking about a process there. They were thinking about beating the dude next to them, and that's why I love that race. But again, I think Adam will be celebrating that.
Yeah, it's not, Karen, sometimes about swimming your own race. It's about swimming the race you're in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, over the longer distances, and tactics often come into it. But in a race like that, he had Chin Haiyang one lane up from him, who had a very, very fast stroke rate, who took that race out, and he went with him. And as Steve said, Martin Engey was given the freedom, being in an outside lane, to just do what he had to do.
When we started talking, you know, to set up this meeting, it was only yesterday, but it feels like days ago. We were talking about the importance of Adam Peaty's performance in the context of what Team GB can achieve at this Olympics. Well, what do you think that will do for the rest of the team?
I think it's a settler. I think, the team might have spun off its axis if, Adam Peaty got a medal. I'm probably doing them a disservice there, but the confidence you get from your big hitters getting medals, that will run through. And I think it's great, that he's got that silver medal. He'll be back with the team. They'll take a lot of confidence from it and they'll move forward. And we've got chances now again tomorrow night, whether it be Duncan Scott or Richards or Ollie Morgan in the backstroke. The confidence there should build in the team.
We will hear from Adam Peaty very, very shortly on that silver medal in the men's 100 metres breaststroke. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Well, in the pool right now, last event of the evening is the women's 200 metres freestyle semi-finals. We have just had the first heat of that. We're going to take commentary of the second heat because what is so interesting about this race, Karen Pickering, again, fastest 8 across the 2 heats make the final, so swimmers might be holding a little bit back and, tactically being a bit cagey. But Molly O'Callaghan of Australia and Ariana Titmus of Australia are drawn in the same semi-final, and we think come final time it is going to be a shootout for the gold medal between these two who know each other very, very well, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they'll be well used to swimming in close proximity to each other. They both swim at the same swimming club, coached by Dean Boxall at St Peters Western in Australia. So they know each other's tactics, and it's an interesting thing to be racing against someone you know so well. It's one thing knowing your competitors and understanding their strengths and weaknesses, but for you to be racing with someone that you train with day in, day out, and Ariane Titmus took the world record from Molly O'Callaghan at the Australian trials just a few weeks ago. So these guys are friends but fierce competitors.
We've already seen the brilliance of Ariana Titmus last night, winning the 400 metres freestyle. This, the 200 metres, the shorter distance, 4 lengths of the pool. She won both events in Tokyo, is trying to do the double again here. Molly O'Callaghan, her main rival, training partner, 20 years old, but beat Titmus in the World Championship final last year. So it is an appetising prospect to see them go up against each other in the semi-final and the final, we presume. The swimmers are just being called out onto the pool deck right now. Arena still jam-packed, an incredible place to compete in Olympic swimming. This Paris La Défense arena. Steeply raked stands, black seats on all 3 sides, those spotlights again just swirling around. We've still got the victory ceremony to come for the men's 100 metres breaststroke as well. Looking forward to hearing from Adam Peaty, his thoughts on that race this evening. If you have missed it, where on earth were you? just pipped right at the end, Adam Peaty, to take the silver medal. Erica Fairweather, in terms of this event, the 200 metres freestyle, Karen, what about her chances?
Yeah, she's probably better known for the longer distances. She just missed a medal in the 400 freestyle last night in fourth place, but still a solid 200 swimmer. I expect to see her feature later in the week over the longer distance.
Siobhan Hawhey represents Hong Kong, has just come out in the blue and white colours, the tracksuit, the white swimming cap. Born and raised in Hong Kong, her father is Irish, won the World Championship title in this discipline in Doha this year. And Ariana Titmus gets a big roar from the Australian fans. The unmistakable green and gold. The Australians, the Americans, the Chinese, the British. Such great rivals, competitors in the pools at the Olympics. And Molly O'Callaghan, training partner, the 20-year-old, comes marching out purposely towards her lane. She will swim in lane 4. Ariana Titmus in lane 5. O'Callaghan is last to her block. She sits down. Titmus to her right, just warming up, going through a final few stretches. A couple of the swimmers bend forward, splash themselves with the pool water just to acclimatise to the conditions. And Titmus, dripping wet, gets up off her knees, slaps herself a few times, stretches out high, and Molly O'Callaghan is just about ready to go. Leela Mina Abraham of Hungary in lane 1, Junwan Yang of China in lane 2, Siobhan Hawhey in 3, O'Callaghan and Titmus 4 and 5, Erica Fairweather, the New Zealander, all in black in 6, Erin Gemmell of the USA in 7, and Snæfriður Jörunnardóttir of Iceland in lane 8. Silence falls again inside the arena. Striking uniforms of the Australian swimmers side by side as they throw themselves forward into the water. 200 metres freestyle, world record holder, Olympic champion Ariana Titmus in lane 5 and Molly O'Callaghan on her left in lane 4. It looks so smooth and easy, this sort of speed swimming, Karen Pickering. I know it isn't. They are just slicing and gliding up the pool away to our right hand side.
Yeah, Molly O'Callaghan in particular has a very, very smooth stroke, and she has interesting technique with this, and despite being a 100-metre specialist, she swims her races so the second half is quite often quicker than her first half. So when she seems out of it, she just finds this sixth gear to come through the ranks. But it's Ariana Titmus who is in control in the early stages.
Adam Peaty still to get his silver medal this evening. We will see that shortly here inside the arena. Ariana Titmus, half a body length ahead of her fellow Australian Molly O'Callaghan. And Molly O'Callaghan has a challenge on her left-hand side. No surprise from Siobhan Hawhey. Yang of China going well in lane 2. Ariana Titmus showing her class once again. How important for either of them, Karen, do you think, to actually win the heat? Will that bother them?
I think they just won't want to make any mistake in getting through to the final. So they'll be very clear where they are in this semi-final. And when it comes to the closing stages, unless they're well clear, you're going to see them go fast right the way through to the wall.
Titmus and O'Callaghan pretty much neck and neck. O'Callaghan's just made a bit of ground up in the last 25 metres or so. 25 metres to go, and the younger Australian O'Callaghan stroking smoothly towards the finish, and Titmus and O'Callaghan are neck and neck. Siobhan Hawhey going well in lane 3 and Yang coming on strong in lane 2. The two Australian swimmers side by side almost touch at the same time. Titmus just gets the edge. O'Callaghan in second, Hawhey in third. Mouth-watering final ahead in the women's 200 metres freestyle.
Yeah, that was vintage O'Callaghan there. She was about 8/10 behind at the halfway mark and then just smoothed her way through to touch almost at the same time. As you said, that was a great swim from O'Callaghan just behind Titmus.
Isn't it interesting? Two people that train together all the time weren't particularly quick to embrace each other or say well done, were they? You see that?
Oh, look at you causing trouble this late at night.
She's such a stirrer.
Well, everyone talks about how friendly these Aussie girls are, right? And how they just love each other and want each other to do well. I'm having none of it. O'Callaghan wants to stuff Titmus tomorrow night. They train together. Titmus gets all the plaudits, you know. But O'Callaghan, for me, her engine on the back end of her races is unreal. I think she takes Titmus apart tomorrow night.
We'll pick this up tomorrow night. I think that's a really interesting dynamic to pick up on between Titmus and O'Callaghan, and the fact that they do train together, but yet they are rivals and part of the same team. I think Steve Barry's looking for a cat fight at the side of the pool. We'll pick that up tomorrow night, but there's so much to reflect on from what's been an incredible evening, an incredible day of action again at the Olympics. Adam Peaty has taken silver. Kim Woods has got Team GB's other medal of the day with a bronze in the kayak. It was an incredible comeback for Andy Murray and Dan Evans as Andy Murray's retirement is postponed for another couple of days. We've seen the first of a possible 4 individual gold medals for Leon Marchand in front of an adoring partisan crowd here at the La Défense Arena. We'll be reflecting on an extraordinary day after the BBC News with Alison Hughes.
The voice of the UK.
And the home of the Olympic Games.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Kelly. The United States says the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah was to blame for a rocket attack on Israeli-occupied territory last night, which killed 12 people. The group has denied any involvement. There have been retaliatory attacks from both sides today. Some Western nations, including the UK, are urging restraint. The Environment Secretary, Steve Reed, has accused the Conservatives of leaving a catastrophic inheritance and covering up the full extent of the UK's financial pressures. The Tories have rejected the claim. Tomorrow, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is expected to outline what she says is a multi-billion-pound-a-year black hole. 2 men have died after a light aircraft crashed into a field in North Yorkshire. Police believe the men, who were both in their 20s, were the pilot and passenger of the plane. And the BBC has been told the man who was kicked by a police officer at Manchester Airport is still traumatised and waiting for medical scans. Greater Manchester Police says the officers involved in the altercation are still under the care of medical professionals.
So what have you got, Andy Murray? What have you got left?
Welcome to Sporting Giants, Andy Murray.
His famous old centre court could be about to go crazy.
He is the world's #1 British man.
A brand new podcast series celebrating British tennis icon Andy Murray.
Sporting Giants, Andy Murray.
Relive the triumphs and tears from a tennis career like no other.
I don't know whether you realise what you've done.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried my best.
Listen only on BBC Sounds.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Kelly Cates.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Welcome to 5 Live Olympics. Here at the Aquatic Centre, Adam Peaty came so close to the three-peat.
It is so close at the end, desperately close. Peaty's still going, and he gets the silver medal in the end. The Italian Niccolo Martinenghi stretches forward and takes it at the deck.
Elsewhere, the only other GB medal today claimed by Kimberly Woods, who won bronze in the women's kayak singles.
I think Kimberly Woods is going to need it to get a penalty, and she has. She's whacked the gate. It's going to be a bronze medal for Kimberly Woods.
And Sir Andy Murray and Dan Evans produced a sensational comeback to prolong Murray's retirement for at least a few more days.
Match point, Great Britain. Forehand return from Murray. Daniel is in a bit of trouble and he's netted. And Great Britain, in the form of Andy Murray and Dan Evans, have saved 5 match points, and Andy Murray's professional tennis career is still very much alive.
Reaction to follow in 5 Live Olympics. You can follow the action on the BBC Sport website and app, or watch on BBC One and iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Kelly Cates.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
You join us at the La Défense Arena in Paris after an extraordinary night in the pool. Silver for Adam Peaty. Here he is with Sharon Davis.
Adam, how are you feeling after that? I mean, if you'd said to yourself 18 months ago you'd have been here, you'd have said no way. And look what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very long way back, and I look at the score there and you're never thinking in wildest dreams it'll be 59 to win it. I gave my absolute all there. I executed as well as I could, and it's not about the end goal. I think it's all about the process, and it doesn't matter what the time says on the score. I think in my heart I've already won, because
yeah, and Everybody at home knows that you're a winner, and your young man over there, your son, he knows you're a winner. They all love you just as much now as when the race started.
Hey, I'm not crying because I've come second. I'm crying because it just took so much to get here.
Tell us about your journey. Tell us how hard it's been. Tell us what you've had to do and how much Mel has played a big part in that.
It's just incredibly hard, like, to win it once and to win it again and to win it again and trying to find new ways to do it. It's like everything I've done to this point, I think it's happened for a reason, and I'm so happy that I can race the best in the world. I still get second, joint second.
Oh, it's and again, 100ths. I mean, it's nothing.
It's never about crying because, again, it's not crying because I got no second or I lost or whatever. In my heart, I've won, and these are happy tears because I said to myself that I give it absolute best, give my absolute best every single day, and I have. And you can't be upset about that.
Do you realise how powerful you are for the rest of the British team? I mean, you've done that now for nearly 10 years. You set the tone, right at the beginning of the Olympic Games for everybody.
I think so, and this event has changed so much. And I was racing Cam, for many, many years, and that was a different thing there. But now I'm almost an older man here now. I can't have that relentless pursuit every single day without a sacrifice of some sort. And that sacrifice can come in many ways. It can come in time, it can come in energy, it can come in relationships, it comes in every single form. And as a man now, it's very hard to compete with the younger ones, but again, I'm so happy with that because I know in my heart that I could have done more. I could have done more. And
does that mean that you're going to do more, though? Does that mean that this is definitely not it? I mean, you've got relays to come, obviously.
Yes. I don't know. I think that's my mind is on the relays, trying to get the best of the team now, see how we can come through this. But these are what the Olympics are about. They're about who can perform at that moment. And I was just 1%, 2% out. And I woke up this morning with a bit of something on my neck, but these are not excuses. These are just things that athletes have to go through to find a way. I never ever once would I have any excuse for what is there, because that's a victory for me. And to see Nicola have it as well means so much for him. I've raced him for a very, very long time, and it couldn't have gone to a better guy.
Fantastic. But you've got all that gold, now you've got a little bit of silver to go with.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's still 6 Olympic medals, right? You can't stuff your nose up at that, but I asked, I'm a very religious man, and I asked God just to show my heart. And this is my heart. I couldn't have done more. So, yeah.
Thank you, Adam. You're incredible.
Cheers.
A really mixed interview with Adam Peaty there. At one stage it sounded like he was saying he felt that he knew in his heart he could have done more. Then he was saying he was a bit disappointed. Then he was saying, I can't be disappointed because I've left everything out there. And then he ended up by saying, I couldn't have done more. Steve Parry and Karen Pickering are here. Steve, it was kind of a conflicted interview, and you can understand why when emotions are swirling in the aftermath of an Olympic gold medal race, but I'm left not quite sure how he feels about that.
Kelly, I think what we're just hearing there is a man that's transitioning, that's starting to realise that his whole life isn't about what he does, it's about who he is. That's what I heard. This is a chap that's won 29 times on the international stage medals. This is a man that has redefined our sport over the last 10 years and almost single-handedly turned our sport around. The conflict is he knows he could have won that race because last night he went faster in the same lane. Of course he knows he could have done that, but he also recognises all of those great things that he has done, and that actually I've heard a humility there with Adam that I've never heard before. He's given time to a fella from a different country and recognised how great that is. I mean, it's actually, I think it probably is the end. It's certainly the end of his Olympic career, I would have thought. But I think it's almost a poetic end to it, that he realises how hard it is to do something that came so easy for him for a decade.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear him, because so often in interviews after his races, you never actually feel like you're talking to the real Adam Peaty. He has some great lines and he's often pumped and he comes out with lots of statements, but you don't necessarily feel like you know the real Adam Peaty. And I felt like that was just a little more babbled than we're used to hearing him, because it was from the heart. He was saying whatever was coming into his head at that moment. And probably what's really interesting for him, for someone who has been success, he will finish here realising it's okay not to win. And that is such a precious thing to learn, that actually everyone still loves you the same. It's okay to come second.
And that's something that he was working on in theory in the build-up to these Olympics, and now he gets a chance to put it in practice, and at the same time takes away a really important bit of metal from these Olympics with that silver medal. He's not finished off the podium. He's taken away a silver medal from this race. It's been an incredible night at the pool, and a huge night for France and for their Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, Léon Marchand did exactly what we thought he was going to do. That was the first event of the evening, the men's 400 metres individual medley. Superstar swimmer. The place went nuts as soon as he walked into the arena, and he absolutely dominated the event, decimated the field to take his gold medal. There'll be more of that to come. He is a joy to watch, actually in and out of the pool, the sort of boyish, young, fresh-faced Frenchman who's starting to create his legacy in swimming. Feel desperately sorry for Britain's Max Litchfield, who was just edged out in fourth in that race. That is a third consecutive fourth place for him at the Olympics in the men's 400 metres individual medley. In terms of the other British swimmers, Duncan Scott, second fastest in qualification for the men's 200 metres freestyle. Matt Richards will be in the final as well, seventh fastest there. David Popovic of Romania will be the man to beat, quickest in qualifying and looks really, really good. Great swim from Angharad Evans, the 21-year-old. She's got herself into the women's 100 metres breaststroke final. Ollie Morgan, we just did commentary of him at the end there, into the 100 metres backstroke final. Johnny Marshall didn't make that. And in terms of the other medal tonight, Kelly, Tori Husk, I mean, that was a thrilling finish as well in the women's 100 metres butterfly. We thought it was going to be Gretchen Walsh. She led pretty much all the way, the world record holder, and then Tori Husk just snuck it at the end, just like Martin Engi did to Adam Peaty. It's been a dramatic night. Great fun.
Thank you very much, swimming team. 5 gold medals on offer tomorrow. Should we do it again? See you back here bright and early. There are races, of course, in the morning, and the team will bring you that as well. And then it all gets underway 7:30 again tomorrow with the women's 400 metres individual medley final after an extraordinary night in the pool. Elsewhere, Great Britain's Kimberly Woods clinched Olympic bronze in a dramatic women's kayak single final. She was third in the standings. Only Germany's reigning champion Ricarda Funk was left to go. But the Tokyo gold medalist made a major mistake late in her run, and that helped Woods clinch her first Olympic medal.
Kimberly Woods is going to need it to get a penalty, and she has. She's whacked the gate. It's going to be a bronze medal for Kimberly Woods. Ricarda Funk knows what she's done. She got it all wrong into a downstream gate. These last two aren't going to matter. She's missed the gate completely. It's a 50-second penalty. Funk misses out on a medal. She can't believe it, the Olympic champion. But Kimberly Woods from rugby is on the podium. She's won bronze at Paris 2024, and she cannot believe it.
And Woods celebrated with her team after her medal was confirmed. It's just 3 years after her Olympic debut, and that ended in tears. Her final run fell apart there, and she finished in last place. She's now a bronze medalist, and here she is speaking to fellow Olympic medalist Matthew Pinsent.
Kim Woods, Olympic medalist. That has taken quite a journey for you to get here. You are clasping that medal, and rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, it means the world. You know, it wasn't easy sitting in third with the current Olympic champion coming down, but, you know, I put my all into that, and it's just thanks to everyone at home. Like, Team GB have done an amazing job to bring us here, and UK Sport and National Lottery, everyone, family, friends, like the stadium were incredible, and that's what's gone into this, and I'm so happy.
Was your last run about as good as it could be?
No, which is really frustrating. There was a tiny bit in my run towards the bottom where I fell off the wave. I gave it absolutely everything, and the crowd really helped. But I finished as high as I could. My time was better than my semi-final, and yeah, I'm really proud of myself, of who I am today.
How much was that previous Olympic experience a driving motivation for you? How often have you thought about this moment, this competition, that final?
Probably since that day, you know, like it was absolutely heartbreaking to kind of go out there and really not showcase what I'm about, and every race since then it's been about finishing as high as I can, and I've grown so much this year, let alone in the last 3 years, and I'm really proud that I went out there today and showed some skills and showed what I was really capable of, and thankfully it was enough for a medal.
Your sport has taken a huge amount out of you. You really are an inspiration to people. You've been very public about that, and it's so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, all the mental health stuff, I try my absolute best to use my platform for good, and then the Olympics is such a big stage to do that, and yeah, just go out there and get some help if you need it. It's okay to not be okay, you know, and so you might win a medal at the end of it, and I certainly did, but you know, it's about resting now for the kite cross later in the week.
Talk about that. What sort of appetite and springboard does this give you for the next few days?
I'm already on cloud 9. I mean, anything from now is just a bonus, and yeah, to come here and win this, and yeah, I'm going to rest now, cheer on my teammates. I'm sure this is going to inspire them to go out there and win medals, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to sitting on that ramp.
It is so good to see you with such a big smile on your face. I've followed you for a number of years. We have had a number of these interviews, and it is so lovely to see you smiling.
Yeah, we've had a few with me in tears, so yeah, it's been nice to come round a bit full circle and have a medal around my neck.
No more ugly crying.
No, definitely not. I mean, maybe a little bit on the podium with the medal, but it's all happy tears now.
A jubilant bronze medalist, Kimberly Woods, there talking to Matthew Pinsent. And it was hugely emotional at Roland Garros as well, in what could have been Andy Murray's final ever competitive match. He and Dan Evans found themselves 5 match points down to the Japanese pair Kei Nishikori and Taro Daniel in the first round of the doubles. And then this happened.
They lead by 9 points to 4, but it's Andy Murray serving to keep his career alive. Excellent serve, an ace from Andy Murray in the way that he won Olympic gold at Wimbledon in 2012. An ace in the Suzanne Lenglen court in Paris in the summer of 2024 means that Andy Murray is still just about alive. But this is match point number 2. Andy Murray serves. Backhand return from Nishikori is just over the baseline. And Andy Murray has won both of his points, and that is 2 of 5 match points saved. This is the 3rd match point for Japan to knock out Andy Murray and Dan Evans. And missing down the tee by a matter of a centimetre or 2. The distance that means Andy Murray's career is still just about alive. But this is match point number 3 for Japan, and it's a double fault now from Nishikori. Well, how about this? 3 match points gone. 9-7 in the tiebreak. It's a 4th match point. Nishikori serving. Backhand return from Evans. The smash from Daniel. The forehand from Evans. Nishikori with a forehand into the net. And that's 4 of the 5 match points saved. And this tiebreak is now back on serve, because at 9-8, it's GB with 2 serves to come. Dan Evans has now got to help him out with a big serve here, because it's still match point number 5 for Japan. Evans serves, it's a good one. It's a high return by Daniel, and Evans fires the forehand down the line. And how about this? Britain back from the brink. It's now 9-all in the tiebreak to decide the match. Got to win by 2 clear points. This is a great return, but it's just long, in fact, from Nishikori. Evans was in trouble there for a moment, scrambling to get back, but the lobbed return was over the baseline, and Great Britain have won 6 points in a row. And having saved 5 match points, they now have a match point of their own.
Murray now, it's on his shoulders. Can he pull out a return, just guide it into an open space at the other end of the court?
Taro Daniel will be feeling the pressure. Match point Great Britain. Forehand return from Murray. Daniel is in a bit of trouble, and he's netted. And Great Britain, in the form of Andy Murray and Dan Evans, have saved 5 match points, and Andy Murray's professional tennis career is still very much alive. What a celebration between these two, who've been Davis Cup teammates for so many years, hugging each other, jumping around in delight on the Suzanne Lenglen court, and that was pretty special, even by the standards of Andy Murray.
5 match points down, 7 points in a row to win a match at the Olympic Games. You barely stopped laughing, Dan, since winning that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it happened. Played point for point. When we were down, stuck to what we'd been the game plan, and got back, and good return from him in the end, and got us through.
Not bad drive volley from Dan as well on the 5th match point, Andy.
I mean, all of the points were. I mean, he also I think it was 9-7 points. Hard to remember exactly where a chip lob and Daniels smashed it right at him and just reflexed it. It was just instinct, and maybe a little bit at the beginning of the match. Maybe slightly overthinking it slightly, and then. When we were behind, like at the end of the second set, started going for it a bit more, and everyone came up with some great stuff. I served slightly better, which I'd served pretty poorly, for the first set and a half, and we played well at the same time in the important moments, which at the beginning of the match, I certainly didn't play well, so we'll need to play better in the next round, but I think we will.
I mean, what a feeling to experience so late in your career, in your final week. I mean, when you're old and grey, will that be one of those moments? Do you think that you'll be able to reflect on?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, in the moment, like when we finished the match, I mean, both of us just laughing. I mean, I haven't celebrated a match win like that since maybe the Kokonakis match in Australia, but. Yeah, I mean, what an amazing feeling, like, to get through that. There's just a bit of shock, genuine, like, happiness at the end of it. And glad I came.
But that's so good for him, Dan, isn't it? After so many injuries, so many disappointments, the career's coming to an end, to have a moment like that. Tell us what that means for everybody on behalf of him.
It's an amazing thing for that to happen to him. He works, obviously, I know, with the the procedure, and to get back just onto court, to have that in the first round, to have that sort of match. I mean, that's just, it's sort of typical him, isn't it, that it ends up happening to him. And it's something I'll remember. He's had a few more moments like that in his career, but it's something I'll never forget. That match was really, really proud of getting through.
That was Dan Evans and Andy Murray speaking to Jonathan Overend after their extraordinary win, after which Andy Murray posted on Instagram a caption of him and Dan Evans celebrating in the way that you just heard them describing, with the caption, "Let's redacted go," a load of flame emojis and a load of Union flags. I think it's fair to say that Andy Murray and Dan Evans enjoyed that one, and Andy Murray extends his career for at least one more match. Disappointing day for Team GB in the boxing, though. Manchester's Pat Brown lost to Kejna Mikado, while Rosie Eccles' Olympics was cut short after defeat by Poland's Aneta Ryjelska in a split decision. Here's a very emotional Rosie speaking after the fight.
When it wasn't going her way in the last round, she's holding, even gets a point off for it. She didn't land anything clean, and I'm just, as I've said on the video, I just feel really shocked. I'm really shocked. I don't know what to say.
I know it's raw at the moment, but just try and talk me through what happened in the fight.
The idea of the fight, my game plan going in, is she doesn't want to win a fight convincing this girl. She wants to steal rounds, and the idea was not to let her steal it and get on the end of the jab and then let my hands go. And I thought I did that. Yes, first fight is never perfect, but I done it, and knowing the score was going in, I was just like, right, yep, sound. And then the coach just said, when she's holding, just punch, try to punch, do anything, because you can't. And then he eventually took points off. So I was like, then it was like a dead cert to me. Like, well, she also had a whole point off. I didn't have a doubt. When it started to take a long time, I started to worry. I thought, what's going on here? Yeah.
And what about at the end, Rosie? What was going through your mind at the end when the decision was announced?
I don't have any. I don't know. I still don't really have any. I feel like I'm in a dream. Like, how much I pushed to get here. I was so ready. I've overcome everything, and my dream's over. There's not another cycle in me. My body won't do another cycle. So that's over for me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you to everyone, because I've had brilliant people. I'm so lucky. Fortunate. I've worked my ass off, but I'm so fortunate, and I just can't believe it's ended that way. But do you know what? It wasn't meant to be, for whatever reason, and my family aren't even all out yet, so I feel like really sad. Yeah.
That was a clearly distraught Rosie Eccles speaking to Steve Bunce. That is it from us from day 2 at the Olympics, and it's been an eventful one. Naga Manchetti will kick off tomorrow's coverage from 10 a.m. She'll have coverage of Team GB flag bearer Tom Daly and Noah Williams in the men's synchronised 10 metres platform final. To get you into the mood for that, here's Daly speaking to his former diving mentor Leon Taylor, and they're reflecting on how it felt to finally end his wait for gold at Tokyo 2020. This is all about Tom Daly.